You're watching Fox Sports, home to Major League Baseball, the National Football League, NASCAR, and the new home of the BCS. This is America's #1 sports network.
Today's winner is yet unknown, but the driver and the hour are about to meet.
Las Vegas, Nevada, and NASCAR on Fox. Two totally different things, but yet so much alike.
They're coming for me.
Risk.
You know, if he's worried about people's lives and everything, and then he's going to wreck on purpose at 190, I wasn't too happy with that.
And reward.
And Keneth wins the Auto Club 500.
Probability and chance.
You need to be ready for anything.
So it's time to play your hand to try to beat the odds.
It's 1 against 42.
And you better know when to play or when to stay. Today is the rambling and gambling men of NASCAR.
Viva Las Vegas.
Who will be busted and beat and feeling the heat? Snake eyes. Today, are the chances 1 in a million? These odds are much better. Simply 1 out of 43. In stage 3 of capturing the flag.
NASCAR on Fox.
Live from fabulous Las Vegas.
With snow-capped mountains providing a perfect backdrop, Fox Sports is in Las Vegas, where NASCAR's headline drivers are on display. Guys like Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, and Tony Stewart. The weather should not be a problem at all. Temperature in the 50s by later today, partly cloudy, a little bit of sun over this 1.5-mile track. But it's warm and cozy where we are. So we welcome you inside the Hollywood Hotel and Casino, where everything's comped, except for the truffles. With Daryl and Jeff, I'm Chris. I'm a little under the weather, but I know you'll carry me through here in Las Vegas. We're in for a wild ride.
Is that any different? Any different the other week?
I think we're going to have to carry him out if he keeps going.
Well, you're excited to be here.
I am. You know, I am fascinated by the things you can bet on out here. The obvious is laps led, lap leaders, cautions. But here's a good one: the winning car number, odd or even.
All right.
The last letter of the first letter of the last name of the guy that wins the race. I mean, it goes on and on.
And who'd you give us your long shot or your favorite for today?
Oh man, right now my favorite's got to be like Matt Kenseth, and at the same time my long shot maybe Casey Mears because he's been running so good.
Casey Kane.
Nah.
Betting is legal. Let's check out the odds. And at the Palms Hotel Casino Resort, Matt Kenseth and Busch are the co-favorites. That's Kyle Busch at 5-1. Gordon and Jr., they're both at 20-1. Jimmy Johnson, he's been a favorite at the finish line despite being without his crew chief for the last 2 races. The current points leader and last year's winner here is ready to roll. Jimmy joining us live down on the track. Jimmy, thanks for being with us. Darian Grubb has been exceptional filling in for Chad Knaus. What kind of communication have you had with Chad over these last few weeks on a regular basis?
Well, there's been a lot of communication. I can say I'm glad I haven't been talking to you at the way your voice sounds. You sound like a frog. But anyway, sorry to give you a hard time.
That's all right. It's going fast. Good. Keep going.
Good. But we've been working well together. Darian's been our race engineer. And so we haven't missed a beat as far as communication between Darian and myself. And then Chad, he's at home. He's doing everything that he can during the week to get the guys prepared, to get the race cars prepared. And then I talk to him on the phone at night, and we're doing a good job, making the best of the situation.
Hey, Jimmy, it's DW. Hammond and I were a team. We communicated. We were on the same page all the time. How has it been kind of making that transition from a guy that you've talked to ever since you've been in a Cup car to Darian now? How's that working out for you?
you know, we can't argue with the results that we've had. There's no doubt that I was nervous going into things, and the team was as well. But you know, we've been doing a great job in building a lot of confidence just based on our performances. We've been communicating well at Fontana. We didn't have the best car through the middle of the race, but I was verbalizing to Darian what the car was doing. He made the right adjustments, and we came out of there with a second-place finish. So the last 2 weeks of racing, we've really just been building confidence and believing more in ourselves and doing the best that we can.
Well, Jimmy, in Daytona, you made a decision to have that press conference to say, hey, I'm going to take this team and kind of help lead them right now. A lot of people have told me because of that, they've rallied around your team. Have you felt that kind of like warmth, I think, from the fans and everybody else as far as your competitors are concerned? Yeah, I think so. I think over time and in the performances that we've been able to put out on the track, we've gained a lot of respect from the fans and from everyone in the garage area. So, you know, this team deserves a lot of respect, and I'm glad to see it coming that way for us. All
right, thanks, Jimmy. Good luck today. All right, we'll talk to you later on.
Awesome. Thank you,
bud. All right.
Have a good
one. Stick around. Here's what's around the turn. The Vegas party just getting started. Jeff Gordon, a moneymaker behind the wheel. But he was at the poker tables with Tony Stewart. Charity benefiting. There's DW and Jeff, another drive in their new ride to get us ready for the race today. Kurt Busch, the local hero from Vegas, goes 10 laps with us and gas and go. And what happens at the Hollywood Hotel, let's pretend it never happened. We'll be right back.
Couple of jokers. Hey, I'm kidding. Actually, there are a couple of aces. Earlier this week on the Vegas Strip, Jeff Gordon held his first annual poker tournament benefiting his foundation. He invited me to play, as well as current champ Tony Stewart and professional poker players, including Chris Moneymaker and Chris Jesus Ferguson. Tony turned out to be a pretty good card player, and it didn't take long for him to eliminate me.
Man, you won't hear anything nice on TV from him on me for months now.
I'm all in. The day's host won 3 all-ins and lasted longer than he expected, but winning the tournament was not in the cards. Still, it was a good time for a great cause.
I had a great time. Lasted a little bit longer than I even thought I would. I'm just really excited to be able to do something that's fun and it's hot. This poker craze, you know, is really just taken off, and to be able to do it for a great cause, you know, with the Jeff Gordon Foundation.
Well, today, as far as DW's ride and drive, and our Richard Petty driving experience car, we're going to find out exactly how dicey it is getting on pit road here at Las Vegas.
Hang on, Hammond.
Look what I got here. We're in Las Vegas, aren't we?
Daryl, here's Vegas. Show me how not to do a pit stop. Now, here's a problem you have in Vegas. Jeff calls me and tells me, pit this time by. I'm trying to let people around me know that I'm coming to pit lane this time by. I got to hustle in. I'm off in the grass. Daryl, that is not what we wanted to do, buddy. That is not going to get it done. Now, DW, show me the right way to do a pit stop. Pit this time by, pit this time by. 4 times. Roger that. Got to be down to 45 right here. I'm in the pit lane. Stay out wide until I get to my pit box. Here we are, here we are. Get here nice and straight now. Nice and straight right there. Now, folks, if you notice, I kicked the car out of gear before I ended in my pit box. I let it roll in so I can keep the engine cleaned out, keep it running. So one bad pit stop, one mistake can take you right out of the race.
Well, after all of that, now it's time for gas and go.
That's it. You're a good co-host. Daryl, this for you. Is it too soon for guys who are to worry about points? Biffle not doing well. Casey Mears doing well.
I think I brought this up a week or two ago, but look at this season as a 26-race season. You've got to be in the top 10 when we get to the 26th race at Richmond. So every point counts right now. You dig a deep enough hole, but it's going to be hard to come up out of it.
I got you. You're right about that, brother.
All right, very good. Let's go on to, actually, this is number 2 is for Jeff. Darian Grubb, the secret weapon. Has he benefited from already a great team, or has he really made a difference himself?
Well, I think there's a combination of both. You've got to have a great team around you. I don't care how good a crew chief you are. If you don't have the right people around you, you will not not be successful. And I think what Chad Keneth has done with Darian Grubb has shows the right people. But Darian is actually, I think, doing a great job. He's doing a really good job.
He's sitting on top of a hot toolbox right now, and he's sweating ice water and doing a good job. When he said, I got the driver, I got the car, what have I got to be worried about? That told me a lot about him right there.
Just don't mess it up.
Can send me some hot apple cider. Daryl, for you, Charlotte, the right choice for the Hall of Fame. We know Atlanta, Daytona in the mix.
You better get this right.
That's the heart and soul of our sport. I mean, you know, we don't have to go into all the details. A lot of teams there, a lot of fans there. If I'm going to go to, when people say, what race should I go to get the biggest bang for my buck? I tell them Charlotte. That's where I'd put the Hall of Fame. I think they made a great decision. Behind it 100%.
All right,
amen,
I
brother.
agree with NASCAR. Yeah, I agree with NASCAR.
And I'm sure you'll be one of the inductees. Jeff, for you, give us your top 3 automatic inductees. Some older guys and some of the guys we're watching today.
No, man, you got to look at it like this here. When you go into a Hall of Fame, you got to look at kind of like, I think, the leaders of the pack right now. And that's got to be Big Bill France, the founder of NASCAR, Richard Petty, and obviously, you know, local favorite, Dale Earnhardt.
All right, you know, that's all right. So let me ask you the same question. He was kissing up to the big boss. You already got the gig.
Yeah,
well, easy.
Okay.
Here's the thing I care. Here's the thing about the Hall of Fame. I think they need to have very strict rules for getting in. I don't think you just start pulling people out of the air and saying, oh, he did this, he did that. I think you got to really look at the statistics, see who did what, how they stand in the sport. I know one thing. I'm proud of this championship ring. And when I go in the Hall of Fame, or whoever goes in the Hall of Fame, they should be equally as proud as I am of my championship.
They've got to be special.
It's got to be special. And there might have to be more than, you know, owner Hall of Fame wing, driver Hall of Fame wing, promoter. Because some of the great promoters from the past.
Don't forget us.
And crew chiefs.
I mean, we have a few rights to be there, too.
It depends on what category you want to talk about.
You've got a couple of championships, actually 3 that will help you get in. Drivers are getting ready.
Don't lose more in your voice if you don't get it right.
My voice will hold up. Kyle Busch, his car promoting the movie Ice Age 2, The Meltdown, which premieres March 31st. My voice is melting down.
Yay!
We're back in Vegas.
How about Kurt Busch?
It's a good place to be.
Now we're into some quality stuff.
Go back to your old stomping grounds. This is Vegas.
Busch slices to the outside.
You've got to be impressed with Kurt Busch.
There we see right there, Kurt Busch right there waving to his hometown crowd. But earlier, our Chris Myers got to sit down with Kurt on 10 laps and get his real answers when he had a very better voice. I mean, man, my voice is going too right now. 10 laps with Chris Myers.
How are you handling the change in your life and the things that happened last year?
Yeah, much more mellowed out and looser. I mean, you know, you used to see me so uptight in these interviews, making sure I said the right thing. So we've changed there. I'm more mature.
How about your favorite athlete, not a racer, but of all time?
I grew up in Vegas, and I always looked up at Andre Agassi.
We call this the pressure gauge. It's a scale of 1 to 10. Kurt Busch's life is stressful.
Jeez. A 1.
Well, all right, let's go on down.
Yeah, I love it. It's going great.
Okay, but it was way up there.
Oh, yeah. It was over the edge.
How about Kurt Busch as a romantic?
Evil say I'm a 10.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I told her, hey, the commitment with racing is every Valentine's Day's in Daytona for the rest of our lives. But then I proposed to her in Prague.
Beating my brother is the most fun on the track.
That's a 10.5 right there.
Off the scale.
Yeah, it's good.
He said the same thing about you.
Did he? Yep. He was in my rearview mirror all the time. Now he's in my windshield, so I got to go get him.
You know, guys, the deuce is loose. That's what I see right there with Kurt Busch. He's a lot looser, a lot friendlier. He's more user-friendly than he was. But I got to tell you a quick funny story. His brother was in Mexico last week, had the driver's meeting. David Hooch said, you got any questions? And he acknowledged Kyle Busch, and Kurt said, no, I'm Kurt. Or he acknowledged Kurt, and he said, no, I'm Kyle. Got ready to leave. I said, dude, you need a name tag. And when we got out of Mexico, when we were getting ready to leave, I saw him again. He said, I don't want no name tag.
After the accident.
So it's a real aggressive driving. We've got an issue with that.
And we're going to see aggressive driving today.
I think we're going to see some pushing and shoving out there on this racetrack.
We saw it yesterday.
We saw it yesterday. It's the type of racetrack right now, the way the cars are. They're sliding around a lot. And a lot of these guys are very equal as far as competition is concerned. So I'm not going to be one bit surprised to see some of these accidents right there. We see Kyle Busch right there, Kellogg's driver, Ice Age, the Meltdown as a sponsor this time. I mean, you can't. It's so freezing right now out there with Jamie McMurray. All these guys are looking to kind of turn their season around along with Brian Vickers. They're trying to win. I talked to Joe Nemechek, and he is poised to get up there with that 01 car and challenge for a win today.
Yeah, we don't need to be playing 43 car pickup today. we need to have a real serious race and keep it clean.
And it's only the third of 36 Nextel Cup races. Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, and we're counting it down to 400 miles here in Las Vegas. Nice to have you with us for NASCAR on Fox. Fox is glad to have you with us. A sellout crowd here in Las Vegas. More than 150,000 spectators ready to go racing 400 miles. Let's head trackside for the invocation and opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as the Nellis Air Force Honor Guard presents our colors. Today's invocation will be given by Las Vegas Motor Speedway Chaplain Kenny Farmer. Please remain standing.
Let's pray. Father, we pray for these drivers and crews today as they compete in this race. We pray that you will be with them every mile. We pray for our men and women that are around the world right now, Father, giving us this freedom to enjoy this sport we love so very much. We thank you for those men and women that work so very hard behind the scenes to put this event on. We ask your blessing on this race, Father. We ask this in your name. Amen.
And remain standing, please, for the singing of the national anthem by the hit country recording group Trick Pony.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Stirring rendition, you'll notice the master of ceremonies, Robin Leach, lifestyles of the fast and famous. Let's head up to the broadcast booth and Mike Joy. Mike?
Thanks, Chris, and hi, everybody. I'm with Larry McReynolds as we look over a great crowd at the Speedway here at Las Vegas and look at some drivers that need to rebound their season. Here is the top of the heap. The Nextel Cup point standings, led by Jimmy Johnson. Casey Mears. What if he hadn't had that flat tire in Fontana? He might be closer than 39 points out. Matt Kenseth, 47 back. Casey Kane and Dale Earnhardt Jr. right there. But coming here to Las Vegas, well, there's some ground to be made up. Tony Stewart trying to rebound from 22nd place in the points. Greg Biffle has had two tough finishes. He was one of the first out of only two cars that failed to finish at Fontana, Stewart being the other. Kurt Busch needs to rebound his season, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. at this racetrack in the last 2 years has not finished inside the top 30. But Larry here, as well as at the table games downtown, step one to winning is not beating yourself.
Well, I think in the pre-race, DW and Jeff nailed it because it's about not beating yourself, getting onto pit road and not having those mistakes on pit road. I mean, we saw it in the Busch race last night. I mean, these were cars right here. Bernie Lamar in the 77, he's trying to get on pit road. Matt Kenseth in the 17 doesn't realize it, runs over him. Here, Kyle Busch in the 5, he completely misses pit road. Here's Paul Tracy, misses the commit cone. That's a penalty right there. And right here, Kevin LePage in the 56 spins out because it's so treacherous getting onto this pit road. If you see right here, this is the problem. The entrance to pit road is right in the middle of turn 4, and the groove here is right on the bottom, and that's where you've got the inner pit road, right at the bottom of turn 4.
So we're set for 400 fast and furious miles at Las Vegas in front of a packed house. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The NASCAR on Fox pre-race show is sponsored by Mountain Dew. Get fueled by Dew. By Lowe's, proud home of Jimmy Johnson and Team 48. By Tylenol. Tylenol Extra Strength Rapid Release Gels. Team Tylenol. Think fast. And by Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours.
We've had snow, sleet, rain, and a sandstorm this weekend, but today it's going to go into the low 50s. Track temp 75 degrees, reflecting some of the sun through scattered clouds, and the wind southeast at 7, so it'll be a little chilly, but it'll be a nice cool day for the engines in these race cars. Mark Martin won the inaugural here in 1998. Jeff Burton, a 2-time winner. Jeff Gordon, Sterling Marlin, Matt Kenseth twice, and Jimmy Johnson, a bend to victory lane here.
And now, for the 4 most famous words in motorsports, we welcome back today's race Grand Marshal, Pete Cutway.
On behalf of the UAW and DaimlerChrysler, gentlemen, start your engines!
We're ready to race in Las Vegas, where the man who has most often broken the bank is Jack Roush, whose cars and trucks have won here in NASCAR's 3 Premier Series a total of 11 times in 27 races. Those are pretty good odds. Steve Burns.
Yeah, thanks, Mike Joy. How about that? 5 wins in the 8 Cup Series races here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now, 2 weeks ago at the Fontana, or the California Speedway in Fontana, Matt Kenseth, well, he won the race. Jamie McMurray, Carl Edwards, and Mark Martin all finished in the top 10. And Greg Biffle, another Roush driver, led 162 laps before losing an engine. And these drivers all like those race cars so much, they've all brought them here to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Greg Biffle is on the pole. To Matt Yoakum.
1 year ago, Steve, Greg Biffle had a tremendous start to the season, winning 5 of the first 15 races. On his way to his career best season, finishing 2nd in the championship standings. Now he has stumbled out of the gate here in 2006, 38th in the points, but he told me that you can learn a lot from history, especially from the guy that beat him last year for the championship, Tony Stewart. Back in 2002, Stewart blew up at Daytona, started the year 43rd in points. It took him 4 races to get to 5th in the championship standings, on his way to his first Nextel Cup championship. But he says, what I really want right now is to win a race. He said, if you go to Matt Kenseth's house, he's got a great trophy case, and one of the special trophies is like a boxing belt that the World Championship boxers win. He goes, I want one of those because it's a unique trophy here at Vegas. Now to the editor of Speedway Illustrated, Dr. Dick Berggren.
Well, a lot of people think that one of those 5 Roush cars is going to win today. But 38 other drivers think they've got a good chance to win the race as well, including this guy, Jimmy Johnson. He won here in Las Vegas the last time we visited this speedway, and he's off to an incredible start this year, having won the Daytona 500, finishing 2nd in California. He's got a Hendrick car, and last year, Hendrick had 3 of the top 5 finishers at Las Vegas. Don't count anybody out. This is not yet done. Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Daryl and Larry have already weighed in on some of the things that can happen entering and on pit road. For more, here's Jeff Hammond at our Ford Fusion cutaway car.
Thanks, Mike. When we talk about coming down pit road, all the guys on pit road have got to execute. What I found interesting in talking to the crew chiefs today about how they were going to treat what they were going to do on pit road, they referred to this place at Las Vegas like Darlington. They said the tire give up today is going to be exceptionally more than what they've seen in years past. And for that reason, they're looking at actually making tire stops rather than fuel stops. So coming on pit road, probably around lap 45 to lap 50 to get that car 4 brand new Goodyears to make it drive better, and also to pick up on speed. So not making mistakes on pit road, well, it's going to be critical. So don't beat yourself, Jeannie Zalesko.
Yeah, I guess the thought process is they can go farther on fuel than they're willing to go on tires. And I can't believe you've gone this far into the show without mentioning Dale Earnhardt Jr. or even a driver from Richard Childress Racing. In fairness, the once great legacies are trying to create the dynasty one more time. And if you look at what Junior's been able to do this year, he's got a top 10, he's got a top 15. Now, in recent history, this track has not been very kind to him, but maybe Lady Luck will return today. And let's not overlook the 31 of Jeff Burton, who had a top 5 at Fontana a handful of weeks back. And, oh, by the way, he has 2 wins here. Yes, of course, he was then driving a Roush car. They seem to keep popping up, don't they, guys?
They certainly do, up near the front on these 1.5-mile racetracks. There's a look at Jeff Burton, and we'll be back with the starting lineup.
Singular 31 Chevy. Stay tuned for details on how to play the Singular Virtual Crew Chief during today's race. Watch for your chance to win my payday at the race in Daytona Beach on July 1st.
Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, is the proud sponsor of the Budweiser Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each NASCAR Nextel Cup race. Budweiser congratulates Greg Biffle for winning the pole here in Las Vegas. Let's have a look at the starting lineup, led by Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart. The only 2 drivers to fall out at California share the front row here. Jimmy Johnson, the point leader, inside of one of the hometown heroes, Kyle Busch, in row 2. Let's let you have a look through the rest of the starting lineup as we talk with 3-time Nextel Cup champ Darrell Waltrip about what kind of race we're going to see today. We've got a cold day, and we've got a lot of fellas, Larry and I talked earlier, that need to rebound. First, not beat themselves, but then beat up on each other.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know why, but I just got this feeling about rough driving. We saw a couple of incidences yesterday. We've seen it starting the season off down at Daytona. You know, some things happen at Mexico in the Busch race. I just think these guys need to chill out a little bit and take it easy. I'm a little concerned about aggressive driving.
How do you keep your driver's temper under his helmet, Larry?
You got to remind him, 400 miles, 267 laps. You're not going to win this race early. Big picture racing. Get to the end, then we'll go at it.
Look at that grandstand. It is packed. And look at this racetrack. It's going to look different when we come back here next year. Different banking, different width to the racing surface. New condominiums in turns 1 and 2. As their continuing improvement program here at Las Vegas is going to get high rise.
Yes, it will. And a banked racetrack is what what our race cars need. These cars, 3,400 pounds, they need some banking to lean into to make some good side-by-side racing.
But based on that Busch race last night, especially Casey Kane that won the race, he moved it up to that second groove. We've had no rain since last night. I got a good feeling we're going to see a little side-by-side.
Oh, yeah. There'll be guys in this race today that will venture on out there whether they want to or not.
And I'm sure we're going to see the normal comers and goers at the start of this race. And we'll go through the FedEx Racetrack keys. Clean pit road entry. I think we've talked about that all during the pre-race and here at the beginning of this show. You've got to get on pit road without mistakes. Adjust to track conditions. We have track conditions we've not had so far this year because it's going to be a little warmer today. And you know what? We're in Sin City. Let's be prepared to roll the dice, especially at the end of the race.
For more information on Las Vegas Motor Speedway, including DW's hotspots, log on to foxsports.com, keyword FedEx.
Well, DW, it's party time in Glitter Gulch. Let's reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time, baby.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
clean start. First 8 cars get single file in a hurry.
Greg Biffle, he'll get the 5 points for leading that first lap. But, buddy, I'm telling you, on back in the field, they are 3 wide and 4 wide.
You know, Larry, I was talking about aggressive driving. It just seems like the aggravation factor is a little higher than it has been in the past. These younger drivers, and it seems like everybody gets a little irritated with each other a whole lot quicker than they have in the past.
Here's a new view as we welcome DLP from Texas Instruments to the NASCAR on Fox family. They'll be a presenting sponsor of ours, and they have brought us the cable cam from NFL coverage here to Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
That's as good as it gets right there.
I love that DLP, man. These race cars look like they're going 200 miles an hour.
Lead change. Tony Stewart drops to the inside, coming off turn 2, and will take the lead from Greg Biffle.
But Biffle goes to the bottom. Stewart's car washed up just a little bit. Looks like Greg Biffle's going to try to beat him back to the line, but Stewart will lead that lap right there. He gets 5 points.
That was by inches. And that's about what we'll see at the finish today.
And it appears that's all Tony needed or wanted. Nope, here he comes. Crossover move. Stewart on the bottom.
And this is good. We've got this side-by-side 2 grooves early in this race. Now, same place. Stewart back into turn 3 in the 20 car. He goes to the bottom. Looks like his car stuck to the bottom that time. He should make the clean pass here.
Well, his car is really, really good right on the white line. I mean, he'll have the left side tires below the white line. It's going to make it pretty hard to get under him. So if you want to get around him, you have to go the outside. And, of course, you got to keep up with him, too.
And just remember, those 2 guys right there, that's the guys that finished 1st and 2nd in points last year. It's the first 2 cars, the only cars that fell out at Fontana.
And what do you think Tony Stewart would be most worried about today, Larry?
Engine woes.
Yes. Only because he had that failure last week, and a driver doesn't forget that until after this race is over with.
42 Casey Mears, the Texaco Dodge, has had a fantastic start to this season. Battling there at 28th with Sterling Marlin. Mears, winner of the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. Top 10 finishes the last 2 races. 2nd in points. Ooh, little smoke from Marlin's Wiley X sunglasses, Chevy.
But remember, Casey Mears, the 42, he started back in 38th, so he's already made up almost about 10 positions. None of the Ganassi cars qualified that well.
And right behind him, number 12, Ryan Newman. The Alltel Dodge, one of 4 drivers who had to go to backup cars to start this race. They included Jeremy Mayfield, Kenny Wallace, and also the 4-car of Scott Wimmer in backups. Steve Burns.
Mike, right now Ryan Newman is saying his car is a little tight. You talked about him moving to the back. They had a head gasket problem in the motor yesterday in practice. They had to change the motor. They only got about 16 laps of practice. But the remarkable thing, Mike, they changed motors in 48 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the problem yesterday with the way the weather worked out, the teams only received 1 practice. It was an extended practice. That happened early. They just didn't get a lot of practice with this 12 car.
And that's what I dislike about impound races. They would have not been able to find that problem had they not had practice yesterday.
Because this is a regular schedule here.
J.J. Yaley has passed Kurt Busch. That changes hands at 5th place. As you see, the mid-corner speeds down to just about 150 miles an hour. And then they accelerate to the high 180s down the straightaway.
And you saw that they are about 2.5, 2 3/4 seconds behind our leader, Tony Stewart, in the 20 car. Here's the man that won last night, Casey Kane, in that 9 car, won in the Busch Series race. He's been good all weekend long here. Right now, he's in the 7th spot after qualifying 5th. But, I mean, watch the miles per hour right here. This is a 1.5-mile racetrack. Almost 185 miles per hour, and watch in the middle of the corner off the gas, 144 miles per hour with no throttle applied.
And of course, Larry, the back straightaway is pretty short here. The round from turn 3 down to turn 4 down to turn 1 is really where you pick up a lot of speed.
Newman, number 12, in a backup car, challenging Casey Mears for 30th. Now, if you look at these 2 cars on the nose, you'll see the difference between Newman's number 12, the older Dodge Intrepid, and the Dodge Charger that all of the Dodge teams other than Penske Racing are using this weekend.
And I tell you, there was a third Dodge there, Kyle Petty. He was getting in the mix. Now here's Jeff Gordon in the 24 car battling to the inside of Jeff Burton in the 31. This is a battle for ninth right here. You know, we're watching Jeff Gordon right now, the 24. Just a little bit ago, we were watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8. This type of racetrack, the flatter mile-and-a-half racetrack, that was the Achilles heel. Even though Jeff Gordon finished 4th here a year ago, for most of the season, this was the type of track that those guys just could not get a handle on.
Mark Martin, the AAA Ford under Jeff Burton, and that moves Martin into the top 10. Matt Kenseth on the way.
Kenseth's had a good car last night here in the Busch race. Not quite up to Casey Kane, though. Kane had that Dodge. He was humming around here last night.
And what's interesting about Matt Kenseth, I talked to his crew chief, Robbie Reiser. All of the teams tested out here in mid-January. The 17 had a terrible test. They pretty much threw everything away, went with a different package for Fontana. We know how that worked out. Then they used information from there to bring here to Las Vegas.
Saw Kenseth move up to 11th as you ride with Jeff Burton. Tony Stewart, 9/10 of a second ahead of Greg Biffle.
Did you see that 20 car, how when he gets down to turn 1, right out next to the wall, just almost throws the car down into the corner at about 190 miles an hour.
And this is a battle for third right here. We're riding with Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. That's his teammate Kyle Busch in the 5 car. And then right behind them in the green car, J.J. Yaley in the 18. J.J. Yaley, we just see him getting better and better every week, not only in Nextel Cup, but Busch as well.
Well, the one reason why, Larry, is the car is good. It's really helping him as a young driver because his car is so good. What about it, Burns?
Hey, DW, the other thing about J.J. Yaley, his crew chief, Steve Addington, told me this morning that he sat J.J. down before the season started and said, look, this is your job to keep. You're not going to lose it. He said the other thing J.J. did was watch the tapes of all the races he ran in the Busch Series last year. And DW, he said he realized that he put his car in positions that he shouldn't have.
Yeah, he got himself in trouble early last year in a number of races when it was really not a good time to be racing.
Yaley running in 5th, started 12th. He's picked up 7 spots.
And it's not unusual for new guys to come into our series. They don't realize how long these races are. These suckers are 3.5 hours long, so you can take your time sometimes.
Yeah, but stay tuned.
Yeah, well,
12
it gets better.
12 of 14 laps have been led by Tony Stewart. 14 are complete here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Nothing's wrong with a little bump and run.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud partner of the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. By Visa. Go on, live life, and remember that no matter what it takes, life takes Visa. By Sunoco, official fuel of NASCAR. Without Sunoco, there'd be no race day. And by Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse.
Kenny Wallace with a flat left rear tire. It happened going into turn 1. He slid up the racetrack right in the path of Tony Stewart and almost took out the leader. Look at this.
I mean, you can see Kenny Wallace, the 78. His car will not turn. It's going up the racetrack, and there's Stewart in the 20. He's in no man's land up there.
No, it would turn, but he just is scared to turn to go spin out. But this guy right here, this big green 18 car, that car is on the move, boys.
J.J. Yaley, he goes by Greg Biffle, and that's for third space because Jimmy Johnson in the 48 just went by Greg Biffle for second.
Biffle backing up a little, as did his Roush Racing teammate Carl Edwards, who has lost 12 positions since the start of this race and says his car is very tight. Matt, any problem with Biffle?
Currently running in the 4th position, Mike. Now, he came on the radio about 7 or 8 laps ago, said the car is just so loose, trying to hang on to it. Doug Richard told him, just don't wreck it. We will fix it on the first stop with a wedge adjustment. But he and everyone else right now chasing Big Orange up front. Tony Stewart says his car is plenty free when he gets back in the gas. When they began the race, they felt like they were about a 6th place car, but they made a number of small tweaks after final practice, they feel like they're in pretty good shape, and he's motoring out front.
Well, I think most of the fears that the guys had today was the weather, as we all have been for quite some time. But the sun is out, and this joint right here is notorious for getting slick. So you set the car up under cloudy, cold conditions, come out here today, you're going to be a little too free.
And then you look at like Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle, they both ran the Busch Series race. It was very cool last night. A lot of those cars fought tight, not turning. The front wheel sliding probably gave the crew chief a little feedback from that. Adjustments maybe were a little too far based on track conditions today, Dick.
That's about right to me, Larry, and I'm right now in Jimmy Johnson's pit. He's running in second position, but he's called into the crew and told the car that his car is tight and it's a little loose going into the first turn. Kurt Busch's car is way too tight, and Carl Edwards' car is way, way, way too tight. So adjustments will be coming on the next pit stop for sure.
Too tight means you got a lot of wheel. You're turning hard left and the front tires are not digging. They're just sliding, and you build up more air pressure in the right front, makes it even worse.
And then what just kills you, if it's doing it off the corner, it kills the straightaway speed because you have to roll out of the throttle to get the thing to turn.
Yeah, well, actually you go in and you got to wait in the middle to get the front end to get some grip in it. Then it loses all that speed up off the corner.
One car that's having no problems, Tony Stewart. He has hit the setup just right, and he's up 2.2 seconds. Car on the wall, turn 2. Brushed the wall, got away, and it is the 34 of Chad Chaffin. He had already been in and out of the pits once, got a penalty for entering too fast, back on track, and hard to tell if he scraped the wall up there in turn 2 or not.
But you could see he's just not up to speed as we were looking at the Fox tracks. Now this right here is a battle for 5th. Mark Martin in the 6, no longer a battle, drives by Kyle Busch in the 5 car.
Let's have a look at Chaffin. Did he get the wall in turn 2?
I saw him just look at his car go by. I don't think he did. It's really dirty up there. You'll see a lot of dust fly.
Well, he got up there where there's no grip, and that was our concern a while ago when we watched Tony Stewart in the 20 all the way up there.
Actually, quite honestly, it wasn't as dirty up there as I thought it was going to be, and that's a good thing. That means you might be able to get up there and lay some rubber down and get going.
Chad Chaffin will return to pit road. The Oak Glove Chevy. Dale Jr. trying to rebound from 2 tough finishes here at Las Vegas. 35th, handling problems, 42nd, a crash where he only ran 11 laps. There's his serial score at the bottom, and we listened in as he tried to sort out what his car was doing.
Move in free center off. Follow the brake pedal, ain't got much brake. Got all that right, Tony Jr.? Yes, it for.
And Darryl, you would think with the speeds here and the size of this racetrack, you would not be using a lot of brake, but I think sometimes when that car's not handling right, you tend to use a little more brake, and you don't do things to cool the brakes here that much.
Every driver that I know of, and that I can think of, drives with their left foot laying right on the brake pedal. They're not pushing it, it's just sitting there in case they need it. And if that pedal goes, if that foot touches that pedal and it starts to go down a little further than you anticipate, it causes great concern.
I'm going to tell you what, this has been one of the big movers right here. Mark Martin in his 6 car. He started back in 18th, and he just drove by his teammate, Greg Biffle, in the 16 for 4th. We watched this in yesterday's practice. This car ran more laps than anyone, over 70 laps, and most of it was long runs. And they told me this morning, we need long runs. We're not going to be good on short runs. We definitely don't need a caution late in the race, and they're supporting that here with this run here, 30 laps into this.
Mark Martin is the biggest gainer in the field, 14 positions since they dropped the green flag. Jeremy Mayfield, who is in a backup car, and Kevin Harvick have each gained 11 spots. Martin 3.6 seconds off of Tony Stewart.
A car that's good on a long run is a great thing. It's very comfortable to drive, but the leader gets so far away from you, sometimes it doesn't pay off.
All right, all you singular virtual crew chiefs. Yesterday, the Nextel Cup drivers pretty much dominated the Busch Series race. Should they be allowed to run in NASCAR's 2nd Series? Yes or no? Casey Kane, yesterday's winner. Text the word crew to 191 on your Singular wireless phone or log on to foxsports.com/singular, and you'll be entered to win Jeff Burton's payday at July race in Daytona.
Tell you what, DW, that old 24 car, Jeff Gordon, he has a good look about him on this long run. He just drove by his teammate Kyle Busch in the 5. That was for 6th place.
Yeah, I noticed him. He's been moving along pretty well, and the car looks good, and his lap times are really, really respectable compared to Tony. Jeffy might have him a little something going here today with that old green hot rod.
It's a rare day that he doesn't have the DuPont colors all over that car, but Nicorette is Gordon's sponsor this weekend.
I guess green flames just wouldn't look good with it.
No. And right behind him, Kyle Busch, one of the two brothers who hail from Las Vegas, is Kellogg's Chevy carrying the colors of Ice Age 2, which we thought had come in here, rolled in here Friday and Saturday. Not the movie The Weather, but Ice Age 2, The Meltdown, coming to theaters. Tony Stewart's lead has shrunk to a 2.5 seconds after 32 laps in the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Nice montage, but who is that guy trying to imitate Dick Berggren? With the big flaming orange hair and all that.
That would be Carrot Top, right?
I know, but anyway. 38 laps complete, over 100,000 fans on hand. I don't see an empty seat anywhere. This place is SRO.
I'll tell you somebody that's standing up in the seat right now. It's that cat in that 6 car. He just went by J.J. Yaley there and in the 2nd place, chomping away at that 20-car lead. How about it, Jeannie?
Well, I tell you, if this is retirement, Mark Martin should have tried this a while ago, huh? He came on the radio and said, look, I know it's early, but this is the best car I've had in a long time. I think I held the valve there long enough to recreate.
Turn 2,
yes,
Jeannie.
trouble.
Big crash in turn 2, and it is Reed Sorensen in the Target Dodge.
And I'm pretty sure it was a right front tire. The thing just took a dead right. And I'm sorry, Jeannie, but the 41 car crashed hard.
And Darrell, you would think 40 laps into this run, we're hearing a lot of cars that are pushing, which means they're abusing that right front tire. That has a look that that's maybe what happened. He could have ran over something, but this late in the run, very well could have been just lost the right front.
Heard Jeff Gordon just tell his crew chief down there, said, hey, the right front's not feeling right.
First caution flag of the day, and it comes out at lap 40 for Reed Sorensen, the 20-year-old from Atlanta. You'll see the start way in the distance off the right side of your screen.
Yeah, I was looking right over there, Mike, and the thing just took a dead right. Definitely had a tire failure.
So the pace car gathers up the field, and next time by, probably pit road will be open.
I'm going to tell you what, that caution came at the right time for a lot of drivers out there. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mayfield, Mark Truex Jr., Carl Edwards. A lot of these guys were about to go a lap down.
It came at the wrong time for Ryan Newman, who is already 1 lap down, and he will be pinned there because Kevin LePage is the first car a lap down and will get the free pass.
And there will be no strategy here. This will be pit for 4 tires, fuel, and I would be safe to say almost every car major adjustments.
Yeah, all that feedback I've been giving you there, crew chief,
fix it.
Use it.
All right, they're going to keep pit road closed for 1 lap because Reed Sorensen is limping onto pit road. And the track truck is behind him, picking up any debris that comes off that car. So we'll be back to Las Vegas. Pit stops begin under caution. Here's Jeannie.
You're back talking about not making a lot of changes. That is unless your car is the best car you've had in a long time. 4 tires and fuel for Mark Martin. Dick?
Jimmy Johnson in the pits. They're going to make a minor chassis adjustment on his car. He has been very detailed about the behavior of that race car. They're going to try to get him some more speed. Matt?
Johnson away in the top left. Tony Stewart says the car was loose but livable. Made significant chassis and air pressure adjustments. The same for the 16 of Biffle. Steve?
Matt, you saw J.J. Yaley in the upper right. He said his car was starting to slide in the middle and on late exit. So they made some air pressure adjustments. Steve Addington coaching him into the pit box.
And guys, there you see our race off pit road right there. Now that time includes the entire time on pit road, including the pit stop. You see right there, Mark Martin, the 6th car. He's got a great race car. The pit crew rose to the occasion, but Matt Kenseth, and that was a 4-tire stop, gained 6 positions on his pit stop.
NASCAR and XL Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by UPS, proud sponsor of Dale Jarrett's 88 Ford.
XL Cup Racing from Las Vegas is delivered by UPS. UPS delivers the chance to win 2 tickets to any Fox broadcast race. Just go to foxsports.com, keyword UPS.
NASCAR and XL Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car.
45 laps complete. Terry Labonte did not pit with the rest of the cars on the lead lap. He stayed out on track to lead a lap and gain 5 bonus points. He's now pitted. Mark Martin is your leader over Tony Stewart as we restart.
I think what you'll see is Tony will jump all over a Mark here. Mark's car is good on the long run, so that probably means it's not very good on these restarts.
The problem, they've got Ryan Newman there in the 12 car. Mike, you mentioned he did not get the free pass. He's trying to get that lap back now to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's kind of running interference right there now for Mark.
I'm going to tell you what, 2 cars that are coming, though. Jimmy Johnson in that 48. We talked about the pit stop that Matt Kenseth and the 17 guys had. Look at him up there in the 4th position now.
But like we saw here last year, Larry, all the Hendrick cars are running good today.
You know, the people may ask, why is Ryan Newman doing this early in the race? It is a race for a car like him to stay up there to be that first car lap down. If he gets the caution, then he's back on the lead lap. He's just doing his job right here.
Matt Kenseth trying to close on the 3 leaders. Let's get an update from his pit. Jeannie?
Yeah, Matt came into the pits last time saying, look, I just don't have any grip. It is tight going into turn 1, and I haven't had that problem all weekend. A lot of discussion as to what to do to the car. That he decided to take 1 pound out all the way around, lobbying for some more changes, but Matt waved everybody off. It seems to be working.
I'll tell you another car that started deep in the field back in 29th, Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, a lot due to the fact of a good pit stop by his crew. But you see right there, he's up in the 9th, just a little over 2 seconds behind leader Mark Martin. I think they really made major adjustments on that car under that pit stop as well. It was released this week that Kevin Harvick and owner Richard Childress has set a timetable of pretty much mid to late April to determine what their future will be together beyond this year.
Just ahead of Harvick, Jeff Gordon in the 24 working J.J. Yaley.
Yeah, they've been racing each other really hard. J.J.'s been on the outside of Jeff there for a couple of laps. I think they decided to get single file here so they couldn't move forward.
Matt, did they make Jeff's car better?
Seems that way. Mike finished 4th here last year. The 2001 winner says the car is improving, using a lot of brake in the corners, but he says the car starts off loose and then it slowly works its way to just a tick tight, but Gordon's very pleased. He and Steve Letarte making a lot of headway.
A car that's not as good as it was in the first run is Yaley in the 18. Kevin Harvick works underneath him and takes away 8th place from JJ.
You know, and that is so aggravating when you got a great car and you come into pits and make a couple little minor changes, you go back out, can't drive it.
And what's going on with this battle right here, and this is actually a battle for 4th between Kyle Busch and the 5, Matt Kenseth in the 17. It's almost like Kyle Busch gets that momentum by being up in that 2nd groove. When Kenseth on the bottom, he actually, look, he's got his left side tires below the white line. He just can't carry the momentum off the corner.
Yeah, I don't see very many guys venturing up high yet, though, to try to make a pass. They get up there and lose ground. Here comes Gordon under the 16. Car looks really good. And she's not smoking.
Well, Biffle challenges him for the corner. And Biffle holds the spot. Keneth back after Kyle Busch. Big fight there going into turn 3 as they try to lap past Ryan Newman. And here comes Gordon back after Biffle.
I don't think they helped Newman's car much. He just was up there for a lap or two, but he's kind of in the way now.
How about J.J. Yaley? Steve, what changes did they make?
Well, Mike, they made air pressure adjustments to the 18, and they're a little concerned down here right now on the pits. JJ just told crew chief Steve Addington he's feeling a vibration. He's just trying to be conservative right now.
And that's so typical. When somebody blows a right front tire, you're going to get a lot of drivers coming back and saying, I think I feel a vibration. I think I got a tire problem. Because they all guarantee they report to all the drivers, say, hey, 41 blew a right front tire. You might want to, give us any feedback.
But you know that last time through 3 and 4, J.J. Yaley up there in that green 18 car, he moved to the high side, drove back around Kevin Harvick in the 29. You see here in turn 1 and 2 is we're riding with Kasey Kahne. Yaley has definitely moved up a groove.
Something happened to Kasey there. He got all the way down to 145 miles an hour in the middle of that corner. So something happened entering that corner where in the transition from brake to the middle of the corner to throttle, he really had to get out of the gas.
Yeah, that's an oops. Every now and then you'll have an oops.
The older of the Busch brothers is on the move. That would be Kurt, the first Nextel Cup champion, now driving the Miller Lite number 2 for Roger Penske, who is up on the roof today as one of Kurt's spotters.
Now, Kurt qualified back in the 6th position. Mike, you talked about it just a little bit earlier. We keep following this story at the downforce racetracks like Fontana and here at Las Vegas. The 2 Penske cars, they elect to continue to work with that 2004 Intrepid, which is still legal. It's legal for 3 years, and all the other teams are working with the new Dodge Charger. It looks like they're gaining on that 2 car, Dick Berggren. Paulie, the crew... Yeah, they are indeed gaining on it. I talked to Roy McCauley, the crew chief, at length this morning, and he said that the thing that they wanted to do the most was to make the driver happy, and they accomplished that in practice here. They turned over 80 laps of practice in race trim. They were not at all focused on qualifying. They wanted to get this car so that it would run fast on the long run. They've got the type pretty well out of it. They made an adjustment on the last pit stop, and Kurt's moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's the thing they fought over there in Fontana was it was really fast, set on pole, but the thing would slow down in the long run so bad that it couldn't drive it. So they've been working on that, and I tell you, Kurt told me they were making some real progress.
Looking back at Kevin Harvick from the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge of Kasey Kahne. Out front, Mark Martin, quick pit stop, first place. Got his nose in the wind, and he's trying to run away from this field. He's up by 1 second. 63 laps complete at Las Vegas. Mark Martin the leader, but Tony Stewart running him down. Now just 0.7 of a second back as Stewart's teammate J.J. Yaley got passed by quite a group of cars and came to pit road. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, that vibration turned out to be a flat right rear tire. They changed right sides on the number 18.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, that's they're pretty lucky if he had a right rear going down. Now, when you pit under green here and you change 4 tires with the 55 miles per hour on pit road, you go about a lap and a half down if you're running up near the front of the pack.
Yeah, did they change right sides only? Is that what Burns said?
He had a right rear going flat.
There's Yaley battling Kevin LePage. LePage is on the lead lap. Yaley is 1 lap down. And Tony Stewart has eaten another 1/10 of a second out of Mark Martin's lead. Stewart's coming. Matt?
65 laps in the book, Mike, and good news if you're a fan of the 20 team. First, they had a great pit stop, 13.6 seconds. One of the reasons the return of Ira Joe Hussey, the front tire changer in the offseason, had rotator cuff surgery, an extensive rehab program by Paul Alepa, and now shoot for the trainers at Joe Gibbs Racing. He's been practicing with the team at the shop the past couple of weeks. His first race back this season. Then Tony Stewart came on the radio and said the changes that we made, this car is really great at the beginning of the run. We are really getting where we need to have this car, and you can see it on the racetrack and on the stopwatch.
Now things have evened out at 0.7 of a second between Martin and Stewart, with Jimmy Johnson, the Lowe's Chevrolet, 2.7 seconds back in third.
And right now, Mark Martin in the 6, Tony Stewart in the 20, they're beating Jimmy Johnson by about 0.2 of a second per lap. Mark Martin, Tony's running in the 33 50s and 60s. Jimmy Johnson in the 48s back in the 70s and 80s.
That means in about 5 laps, Johnson's going to have a mirror full of Matt Keneth.
Yeah, because Matt Keneth seems to be able to roll off times a lot like his teammate Mark Martin and Tony Stewart.
Back in 9th place, there's Kyle Busch in 5th. There is Kevin Harvick.
It's getting a little edgy back here.
Yep, you got Casey Kane for 8th, and now working on the lap car of Ryan Newman.
But definitely the 34, Chad Chaffin, who's several laps down, played a role in that. He was able to use him as a little bit of a pick. Now you see Ryan Newman in the 12 car. We talked about him earlier. He is still right now the first car out there 1 lap down, so should the caution come out, he would get the free pass back on the lead lap. But right now we have 35 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, he'll be looking for J.J. Yaley, who's 1 lap down but on fresh tires, trying to overtake him to be in position for the free pass should we get another caution. Let's go to 6th place, where Jeff Gordon trying to hold back Greg Biffle. Their lap times are just about identical between Gordon's 24 and the National Guard Ford. Biffle seems like he's feast or famine, Darrell. He's either in victory lane or they've got a problem out of the race early. They hit it or they miss it.
And that's exactly right. And I think it's the kind of driver he is. He drives so hard, he puts the car on the edge all the time that if you miss it, you really miss it big.
I think they've still got a lot of work to do on that car. They need some cautions to make some pit stops to be able to try to adjust that car.
Well, he likes a car to be nice and free. He doesn't mind the back end stepping out a little bit. But that's when you really, at this racetrack particularly, if it gets too loose, you just can't go anywhere.
Biffle is 7th. He and Gordon are 8.5 seconds off the lead. The first caution of the race came out at lap 40 when Reed Sorensen slammed the wall in turn 2. Reed is with Dick Bergman.
Car is badly torn up. How hard a hit was that?
It wasn't too bad, but hard enough to tear up the car. Just one of those deals where you can't really do anything about it, but it happens. And it seems like the track is a little bit slower than it was all weekend, and I don't know if that's because of the tire. Maybe we had a tire going down there the last 15 laps or so. I'm not sure, but just went out there and got some damage on it, so we can't really do much now but try to gain some points and see what happens.
And the crew is working hard in the garage trying to get that car back out on the racetrack, Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Reed would slip to 34th in the standings. If he doesn't return to the race, he'd drop 10 positions in the Nextel Cup points.
And we've been talking about ever-changing weather, and what goes along with that is ever-changing track temperature. You see right there on Friday qualifying 66 degrees, yesterday down to 63 degrees. Now when we started the race it was 75, but now we're seeing some clouds roll in, it's down to 70. And what that will do, it just gives the car more grip on the racetrack as the track cools down, but it could also make the car tighter and not want to turn as well.
Yeah, a tight race car just overworks the right front tire, and you just build up so much air pressure in that tire that you even lose more grip, and then it just accentuates the problem.
Mark Martin is the all-time winner in NASCAR's Busch Series. He leads today's Nextel Cup race by 0.8 of a second. Time for our singular virtual crew chief results. Should the Cup drivers be allowed to participate in the Busch Series? I'd call that a push. Remember, when you participate in our singular virtual crew chief poll, you're automatically entered for a chance to win Jeff Burton's payday for the July Daytona race that you'll see on Fox. Tony
outside, back outside.
Tony Stewart's advance on Mark Martin is halted. He's now about 0.9 of a second back. Jimmy Johnson 4.4 seconds off the lead, and Matt Keneth has been unable to close on Jimmy Johnson. He was 5.4 off the lead. Casey Kane trying Kevin Harvick on the outside.
I guarantee Casey Kane will get that outside groove working before the day's over with. He knows that from last night. That's how he won that Busch race. He shot by Kevin Harvick right there last night to take the lead.
But Harvick shuts the door on him coming up on the backstretch off of turn 2. Now here's two guys we've not really talked about. Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, the winner of the Busch race last week in Mexico. He started back in 16th. Jamie McMurray in the 26 car started in 19th. And right now these guys are battling for the 12th position, trying to get to the top 10.
"76 laps complete." Mark Martin in the AAA Ford of Jack Roush has led 32 of them.
Green flag racing coming your way.
NASCAR XL Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Team Chevy and the 303 horsepower Monte Carlo SS. Chevy, an American revolution. By new Gillette Fusion, the best shave ever in manual and battery power. By Allstate, official partner of NASCAR. And by Radio Shack. Time for a Visa race break. Mark Martin, currently your leader. He won the first Las Vegas Cup race back in 1998, but Jeff Hammond, Tony Stewart has led 41 laps and took it from pole sitter Greg Biffle to get things going.
Yeah, he did. He got a really strong run right there on the Greg Biffle going into turn 3 and 4 and led early on, but then on first caution day was Reed Sorensen, loses the right front tire, hits the outside wall really hard, finds himself still in the garage area trying to make repairs to the 41 car.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. qualifying 43rd, 42nd, working his way through the pack.
Yeah, you see him right there passing Ryan Newman as well as Sterling Marlin in the 14 car, but right now still struggling. But this is the guy that's really getting it done on pit road as well as on the racetrack. Mark Martin beats everybody off the pit road, including Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson.
And this has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa.
83 laps complete. Mark Martin 0.7 of a second up on Tony Stewart. That gap has not changed. What has changed is the gap back to the third place car, Jimmy Johnson. That's now at 5.5 as we watch Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane continue to keep close company. And this is quite a knot of cars here that were all stacked up trying to lap past Ryan Newman.
And remember, we talked a while ago, Ryan Newman was the first car a lap down. Now J.J. Yaley just goes by him, but as Mark Martin in the 6th, and I tell you, Ryan Newman, he's got his hands full. But as Mark Martin keeps lapping cars, then even J.J. Yaley is not the first car a lap down.
But Yaley's car is good again. I mean, that tire, the wheel loose on the right rear, they got that fixed, and I wouldn't count him. He's not done.
And we do need to mention that the team finally discovered he did not have a flat tire. It was a loose wheel. They just changed the right side tires.
One of the big movers in this race, number 2 point man Casey Mears. And if you looked up momentum, you would see his picture. What a great finish to 2005 and a great start to 06.
And he's got a birthday today, 28 years old.
That's right. Happy birthday.
And he's finished 7th the last 2 races here, so it's a racetrack he always runs well at.
Mears trying to chase down Jamie McMurray's 26, but J.J. Yaley, remember, has fresher right side tires after that unscheduled pit stop.
And speaking of fresher right side tires, we're getting to about, I'm going to say, 12, 14, 15 laps before what could be the first green flag stop. And we'll make sure we talk about this again as we get closer to that. DW and Jeff in the pre-race. Pretty treacherous entrance to pit road.
Oh, I guarantee you'll see somebody mess up under a green flag conditions, because it is, I tell you, that's as hard as it is. The only pit road I know of is as difficult as this one.
Joe Nemechek in the Army car, you saw a little hand movement there as he came off the corner. Joe told me yesterday he's got a good race car here. Very hopeful of a top 10, but right here he's working underneath Chad Chaffin.
Push loose. You just get the front end pushing and you turn the little wheel into it and she snaps loose.
And that's a product of tires that has almost 50 laps on them as well, starting to really slide around.
Kyle Busch just surrendered 5th place to Greg Biffle Here's how that looked. And it looks like Mr. Biffle has hooked up. My gosh, did he grab passing gear?
Well, that's what happens when one's in the gas and one is off.
Yeah, Kyle Busch was definitely out of the gas there on a late exit of turn 2 and 5.
Steve is in Kyle's pit.
Yeah, Mike and Larry DW, we know why. The 20-year-old who was born and raised here in Las Vegas just talked to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, and said he needs help in the middle of the corners.
I can get through the center okay, but I'm nervous to get back to the gas on just how far the rear is going to step out. 10-4.
And that's exactly what we saw. I mean, right where he would like to nail the throttle, he can't. He's a little too free right there. That's why Greg Biffle was able to shoot by him on exit.
And I think, Mike, you talked about this at the top of the show. How do you keep your driver cool, calm, and collective here this early in the race? Also tell him, hey, we're going to be making a pit stop here real quickly. You've got a good race car. Just be patient.
Yeah, all these guys want patience, but they want it now.
Along with 4 tires.
In the truck, Newman in the wall.
Turn 3, Ryan Newman has hit the wall hard, and the whole right front is crumpled up.
Seems like when we get in that pit window, Larry, we see this.
We got right front damage, right front.
Once again, this is good news for Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeremy Mayfield, Robbie Gordon, Elliott Sadler. They were just about to go a lap down to our leader. Timing was right for them.
It's dead.
90 laps into the race.
He said it's dead. He's going to the garage.
And we were within about 10 laps of scheduled pit stops anyway. Newman's car had not been handling well all day. Let's see what happens. That's Brian Vickers to the inside. Carl Edwards coming.
Right front tire. Again, they've been fighting the car not turning, abusing that right front. This is about the same amount of laps into a run that Reed Sorensen lost his right front.
You know what? I don't know how many Intrepids they've got, but that's 2 they've used up this weekend because he had to go to a backup car from practice.
Well, actually, they had to change engines. It's the same car
that's
they
right.
started with.
He didn't lose the car. He lost the engine. I'm sorry.
Into the safer barrier at over 170 miles an hour.
So this is where you get 4 more tires. Again, as we just mentioned, within about 10 or 12 laps of what would have been a green flag pit stop. 4 tires full of fuel, and I'm sure for a lot of adjustments.
The free pass car will be Sterling Marlin, who is a past winner of this race. He won it in 2002.
Here they come, boys.
Tony, was that Tony knocked the commitment cone?
Somebody hit it. I don't know about Bob.
Jeannie?
Well, the 6-car Mark Martin has been looking for forward bite. A lot of conversation to figure out what to do here. He wanted to do some air pressure adjustments to that right front, but he was informed that they were already at minimum. So a pound is coming out of the right rear 4 tires. Dick?
Jimmy Johnson's car is still tight, so they're discussing putting a spring rubber in the right rear. That should slow the pit stop down, but it sure didn't seem to. Latiga, the right rear tire guy, came right around. Matty.
Shaggy Larson already cranked down on the track bar. Air pressure adjustment for Stewart, so the car has got tighter and tighter on that 44-lap green flag run. He's away, and Biffle's on the stop previous. They didn't get the wedge ratchet engaged, so they didn't make that wedge adjustment. Significant adjustments this time. Steve?
Matt Kyle Busch off pit road, drag races with Greg Biffle. They made a track bar adjustment and air. Remember just moments ago, he said he was loose from the center off.
Again, Mark Martin beats them all off pit road.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, the guy that really is shining here is this 17 car right here. I mean, you see right there, he gained 6 spots the last stop. He gained 2 this spot, and now he's going to move up into the top 3. But I think I can show you why these guys are shining so much. It's all about pit selection. Right here, this is the very first pit box coming in. There's no one pitting here. Brent Sherman in the 49's pitting there. He's already a lap down. Matt Kenseth has no one to contend with. He gets in, he makes his pit stop out. All he has to worry about then is 55 miles per hour.
Now watch the entry to pit road here, and let's see which of the leaders got the commitment cone. Big Orange got pointy orange.
And that's going to be a borderline call. It's going to be a judgment call. It's like a strike zone. We're waiting on NASCAR right now. And what that cone is, NASCAR puts that there, whether it's green or under yellow. When you hit pit road, you have to enter pit road between that cone and that grass on the inside. And that the word is between.
So do you are you out of bounds if you step on the line?
Well, he was inside it, and he just barely ticked it.
We'll wait for our good friends next door to make that call.
Balls and strikes.
93 laps complete. Brian Vickers scored as the race leader, this time by ahead of Mark Martin and Tony Stewart.
NASCAR Next Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by DLP Picture Technology from Texas Instruments.
"95 laps complete. Brian Vickers surrendered the lead to make his pit stop, so Mark Martin is back up front. Jimmy Johnson's crew pretty excited about getting him out. In fifth, this from our DLP cable cam.
That's cool, isn't it?
But the reason they're excited, you heard Dick Berggren talk about it. It was not a routine pit stop. It was not just fuel and 4 tires. They actually put one of those spring rubbers that stiffens the rate of the right rear spring, which is, it's a chore to pull it out, but especially to put it in.
A lot of the teams there have got that thing on a tie wrapped in there where you can just flip it in place. So maybe that's what they were able to do, why they did it so quickly.
Next week, our Wendy's race menu is served up at Atlanta. It'll be the Nicorette 300 Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern on FX. And next Sunday, don't miss the Golden Corral 500, presented by DLP HD TV. 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. The call from NASCAR officials, no penalty on Tony Stewart, who brushed the commitment cone entering pit road.
Boy, Tony Stewart in the 20 car trying to get a jump on Mark Martin in the 6. That's a totally legal move to the right side as the green flag was displayed. And he's going to take the lead. Matt Kenseth in the 17. He wants that second spot.
Martin settles in third as they hustle down the backstretch, heading for 180 miles an hour. The word from NASCAR was that the commitment cone that shows where you enter pit road was judged to have been slightly out of position, a little too far to the inside of the yellow line that is painted there. And Stewart came in, watching the line, clipped the cone, no penalty. Let's show it to you here.
If you notice right there, there's that yellow line that we're talking about right there, and you'll see his right front. There's the cone. He's inside the yellow line, but the cone, as Mike mentioned, was too far inboard. They went repositioned it after Tony hit it. Now they put it in the right location.
So Stewart, who has led all 3 in XL Cup races this year, is out front once again with Matt Kenseth chasing him, Mark Martin, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick.
I'll tell you what, I was watching this crowd right here, and Dale Jr. is in the Hornets nest.
Inside and outside.
They are all around him, all over him, and I think they're starting to even knock him around a little bit.
This is a bunch of desperate drivers with not very good race cars right now.
29 cars are on the lead lap. This battle is from Dale Jarrett, 19th on back.
See that 38 car there? He was just moving all over the place coming off the corner.
Ryan Newman's car crashed and out of the race. He's with Dick Berggren.
Yeah, he had been sitting with his crew chief, Matt Borland, looking at the damage. How bad is it?
It's pretty bad. The Auto Dodge is pretty tore up. I guess the best thing I can say is hi to my grandmother down in Florida.
Well, at least you could do that. What caused the crash?
Just right front tire blew out. Looks. I assume that's the same thing that happened on the 41, but just another Dodge.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Kyle Busch has passed Mark Martin for third.
And I think possibly what may be going on with Mark Martin's car here is if your car is good on long runs, it can sometimes be a little too loose at the beginning of the run, and I think that may be why he's lost 3 positions here within the last 4 or 5 laps.
I think it's another one of those times, Larry, when he went in the pit, the car was really good. They made a minor adjustment on it, and now it's going the wrong way. And we got somebody else leading the race.
New leader, Matt Kenseth, is our 6th different leader of this race, but not for long. Stewart takes it right back.
Might been a deal made right there. You know, Tony and Matt have been kind of chumming around together ever since Daytona. Maybe that was a little favor.
That'd be a long way from what happened at Daytona, though.
Roger that.
Our Q Motor Oil front runners, Mark Martin has led 50 laps, Tony Stewart 46, and that number climbing. Greg Biffle has been out front for 2 laps. Terry Labonte, Brian Vickers, and Matt Kenseth have also led today's race. As we watched the lead change hands, back in the eye of the storm, they came across the line 4 wide and on the apron. Dale Jarrett, way downtown.
It's perfectly legal on this racetrack. There is no out of bounds, and guys use that apron all the time here at Las Vegas.
This is the group that's back there battling for about 16th through 20th. Now, Mark Martin in the 6th, this is what we talked about a while ago. It's like maybe his car is coming to him now. The air pressure's starting to build up. He drives right back by Kyle Busch in the 5, moves back to 3rd position. Tell you what, a car that just keeps getting better and better as well. We've been talking about him. We've watched him since he started pretty deep in the field back in 29th. Is that 29 car of Kevin Harvick? He has now moved into the top 5. He's up there in 5th position.
Had a really good car here last night and led a lot of the race and looked like he was going to win the thing, but the car got real tight on him right at the end of the day.
And this is one of those teams that I know Mike didn't include in the beginning of the show, but they need a good run here today.
This is quite a racing facility as you watch Kyle Busch in the Ice Age 2, the meltdown.
Oh, trouble down here, turn 4.
Joe Nemechek
coming around.
Caution will be out.
Remember, we saw Nemechek having a little bit of issue off 4 there earlier, and the car just jumped out that time.
Now that's going to be good news, I'm quite sure, for J.J. Yaley in the 18 car. Had the loose right rear tire a while ago, loose wheel, had probably a top 5 car. He gets the free pass back on the lead lap now.
He's back in it.
Sorry about that.
So Nemechek, we saw the front of his car. He did not damage that front valence on the U.S. Army Chevy with that spin, but it puts us under caution for the 3rd time this afternoon at lap 106.
Well, let me think now. I haven't been out there all that long.
We've been 9 laps.
But you know what I do know from last night? My tires don't like to be cycled, so let's think that through. See what happens here to Joe. He just gets loose.
Just lost it on his own in the 01 car.
I think he's, you know, we saw that push loose off of there earlier.
Just looking from Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, right there dead in the middle of turn 4.
And as mentioned, this was earlier in the race.
See him coming through there, and he just kind of wants to step out with him. The thing was already giving him a little problem off turn 4. Didn't quite save it the last time.
We've been talking about it the whole race since the top of the show. Track conditions that they've not experienced all week long. Just getting a little slick now.
Yeah. Slip sliding away.
DW, I believe we're going to see most of these guys hit pit road. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we might not see them change maybe just right sides, but Jeannie, I got a feeling pit road may end up being a busy place.
Yes, we are open for business very shortly, and as we get you ready for Matt Kenseth coming into his pit, the 17 car, great debate over what to do, 2 tires, 4 tires, and the guys were talking about as long as this has been running, long green runs, 4 tires is probably the call. Matt saying just make the decision before I get in. His crew chief, Robbie Reiser, said, yeah, we better go with 4. I don't want to get you in trouble out there. No other changes because the car is great. Dick?
Kevin Harvick started in the 29th spot. He came into this pit stop running in 5th position. This team desperately needs a top 5. Their last top 5 was May of last year. Matt.
Now the 16 and the 20, Stewart and Biffle in. Right side tires only for Biffle. Chassis adjustment. The car's still too tight. Meanwhile, Stewart said the car was too free at the beginning of the run to Steve Burns.
Matt, Kyle Busch said you made my car better last time, make it just a little bit better now. So they're going to give him another track bar adjustment, 4 tires for Kyle Busch.
We definitely saw some different strategy right there. Mark Martin, Greg Biffle, we talked about him, and Denny Hamlin. I know those 3 cars in particular changed just 2 right side tires with only 9 laps on their tires. There you see the race off pit road. You see Biffle gained 5 positions. Denny Hamlin gained 8. That's because those cars up there, including Mark Martin, changed just to 2 right side tires. and you see Jeremy Mayfield in the 19 in a backup car, 13 spots. Pretty good idea. That was 2 tires.
May not have been any tires.
It may have been fuel only.
Could have been fuel only.
Well, we're not halfway, so if you're going to gamble, it's a good time.
And we are in Las Vegas.
107 laps complete in the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the all-new 2006 Ford Fusion. Put your life in drive. By FedEx, proud sponsor of Denny Hamlin and the number 11 race team. FedEx, every day is a race day. And by the new 99-cent Buffalo Snacker from KFC. Heat things up for under $1.
OAD stands for overactive adrenaline disorder. That quality is what makes Jack Roush and his Ford drivers so successful. 9 wins in Nextel Cup in the Busch Series here at Las Vegas. His cars run in 3 of the first 5 positions as we get ready to restart.
Nothing new about that. More things change, the more they stay the same in that camp.
Need to make note that Dale Jarrett in the 88 car changed his 2 right side tires. We talked about it. Jeremy Mayfield, fuel only. No tires changed on that car.
And that brings Mayfield up to 10. Folks, give that surround sound a crank. Put all those watts to good use. Let's crank it up for this restart. Denny Hamlin. Remember, Hamlin was one of the cars that took 2 tires on this last pit stop to gain track position with the FedEx Chevy.
And Denny Hamlin, we're riding with him here, looking back at the Busch brothers, the 11 car. He took only 2 tires, and right here you're seeing a product of 2 tires versus 4 tires. Kyle Busch in the 5, Tony Stewart in the 24 tires, Kurt Busch in the 2. Only 2 right side tires changed.
The cars that took no tires or 2 tires are gambling, hoping for a quick caution flag. So they'll be in sequence with everyone else, just hoping not to be the cause of that caution flag.
There's Kevin Harvick in that 29 car. We've been talking about him, still up there in the top 10. He changed 4 tires up in the 8th position. But I think where the 2 tires work, Mike and DW, right now is on 2 cars, like the guys leading the race, Mark Martin in the 6, Greg Biffle in the 16. They don't have to maneuver their cars much. They're not racing other cars.
Casey Mears in trouble. A big waggle coming off turn 4. It almost looked like he had a flat.
Well, no, he had cars on both sides of him, and he just got the thing to hopping around, and he couldn't get it stopped.
While all this was going on right now, though, Greg Biffle in that 16, he just drove right by Mark Martin in the 6 for the lead.
This will raise your pulse rate right here. Watch that 42.
Yeah. He gets caught in the middle right here. He gets Dale Jr. on one side. And he just gets, that's the old hospital hop right there, boy. You got to watch that.
He didn't want to get into Junior, and he sure didn't want to get into his teammate on the outside, David Stremme. Now, while that happened, Greg Biffle went to the lead.
This was coming off turn 2. Greg went to the high side, got that run off of turn 2, and just drove right by Mark down the backstretch. But I'm going to tell you, they're going to have company real soon with their other teammate, Matt Kenseth, in the 17.
Ahead at Bobby Labonte in the Czechs 43 and Casey Mears in the 42.
The 55 hung up on the bottom. 2 cars.
Heavy traffic back there.
believe they continue, Doug Richard and that crew, I think they continue to get that 16 car a little bit better. But you know, sometimes, Darrell, changing just right side tires can help a handling problem a little bit.
Yeah, that's the only thing I worry about. It's a short-term gain sometime for a long-term loss. That's the only thing you got to be worried about.
And I think Mark Martin in the 6 just paid the price to his teammate Matt Keneth in the 17. Remember, Matt has those 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, but that's classic Mark Martin. You run up behind Mark Martin, you get on his back bumper, particularly if you're a teammate, he'll let you go.
He knows you called him for a reason. You're faster than he is.
Exactly.
The House of Roush run 1, 2, 3. Greg Biffle, the race leader, trying to overcome finishes of 31st at Daytona and 42nd in California. Matt?
Biffle trying to get Jack Roush another victory lane trip here at Las Vegas. Now, they went with a 2-tire strategy, and Mike, the big reason why so early in the race, a lot of laps left, using this as an experiment for later. They've been back and forth on the balance issue. Before that stop, the car was tight. Now, here in the pits, on the pit boxes, as Matt Keneth, his teammate, takes the lead, you'll find everything. DirecTV satellite system, high-tech computers. But I've seen it first today. Here in the 16 pit, because Doug Richard was on the Busch box last night, he wasn't taking any chances. Went out and got a electric blanket. 41 degrees last night. Temperature right now about 57 degrees, but he is prepared in case it does get cooler. He says he won't freeze 2 days in a row.
Yeah, I did, Matt. I'd be sure that he didn't unwrap that thing and throw it over a set of tires down there either. He's a pretty cagey old dude. He could be thinking something other than keeping himself warm.
Got to have your blanket.
Now, again, we've been monitoring, talking about not the air temperature, but the track temperature. We talked about the temperatures of the racetrack on Friday and Saturday. This is when the race started right here, 75 degrees. But look there, now it's up over 80 degrees, which is the hottest it has been.
It's a lot hotter in the middle of this pack. Whoa. Kenny Schrader, the Motorcraft 21, Dale Jr., the 43, that's Bobby Labonte in blue and yellow. That is quite a wad of cars. And Darrell, they just can't seem to get away from one another.
No, they're all wadded up there. And Casey Mears has been in the middle a couple of times. I know he doesn't like that. Here comes these guys 3 wide. That's one thing about this front straightaway. It opens up so wide that if you get a run off turn 4, you can make some moves down this front straightaway.
But you can stand to be 3 wide on the front stretch. You get to turn 1, you better be back to at least 2 wide.
And company's coming. The 18 of Yaley, the 1 of Martin Truex come into this battle.
I'll tell you, that Yaley car, before the day's over, he'll be back in the hunt.
And just remember what happened to him for the people that just joined us. He had a top 5 car. After a pit stop, he had a right rear wheel that was loose, had to come to pit road under green, fought to get back on the lead lap by the free pass, and here he is working his way back to the front.
What I really like, Larry, is when he catches them, he doesn't follow them. He goes to the outside, puts one of the most sprint car moves on them, puts a slide job on them, and goes by.
Jeff Green has caught that pack, and so has Carl Edwards in the 99. Edwards came up to Larry and me as we were waiting to leave the track last night. Big smile on his face. I drove the General Lee. I drove the General Lee. And John Schneider rode shotgun. He was so excited, you thought he just won the Busch race.
Yeah, when he walked up, we thought he was going to talk to us about his Busch car. He had nothing to say about that.
Unfortunately, today, maybe Carl wishes he had the General Lee, because that is the only Roush car that is not up amongst the leaders. We'll try and find out why when we come back. Matt Kenseth leading in Las Vegas. That's not leaving, it's leading Las Vegas by 1.5 seconds for his teammates Greg Biffle and Mark Martin, all in Fords. Then the Chevys of Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Kevin Harvick. Then the Dodges of Scott Riggs, Casey Kane.
It does seem like, Larry, a lot like yesterday, when you get out front, no matter who you are, once you get out front, you can kind of check out on the rest of the field. Get that good clean air, open track. These cars will set sail.
But I'll tell you, 25 laps in this run, I guarantee you people has taken notice of Greg Biffle and Mark Martin, the 16 and the 6, that changed just those 2 right side tires. But Darrell, for it to work, you've got to have a good handling race car. You can't do it if you've got cars not driving good.
Yeah, if I'm going to come in under the caution, I want to get me 4 tires. I'll save that 2-tire trick for when it maybe could win me the race.
Speaking of those boys right there, Mark Martin, Greg Biffle, this is a battle for second between teammates.
You know you got a great operation when your teammates don't battle until it really counts. You're faster than me? Well, you go ahead. Let me see what I can do. If I can come back at you, I will.
But Mark is so courteous that, you know, when he expects the same thing in return. I'll give it to you, but you give it back to me.
We mentioned the one Roush car that is not up amongst the leader is the 99 of Carl Edwards. Here battling Bobby Labonte. He is 23rd, 18 seconds back. Dick Berggren, what's up?
And Mike, Carl Edwards came to this event thinking he was going to win it, and why not? There was a big test here in January. Everybody was at the test. Fastest car, Carl Edwards. He's got the same car that won Pocono and Atlanta, so he's got a great car. And also, they came with a new aerodynamic package, more downforce. Carl hasn't had that package yet, but the other Roush drivers have had it. But he qualified 21st and has run poorly all day. The car started out with a big push. On the first pit stop, they adjusted, thought they were going to get the push out of it. They sure did. They made the car so loose he could hardly drive it. And moments ago, I talked to crew chief Bob Osborne. He said the car is just a little bit better than after that pit stop.
Greg Biffle backing up just a little bit, Dick, as Kyle Busch motors past. 3rd place.
You know, the success that Carl had last year, I believe I'd have kept him in the same kind of car he had, because he was doing pretty well with what he had.
Kyle Busch is the first Chevrolet in this race. He's in 3rd place and moving forward, Steve.
And Mike, all these teams keep track of what everybody else does on pit road, or at least the cars that they are racing with and against. And Kyle Busch had this to say to his crew chief Alan Gustafson about his competitors at Roush Racing.
Those 16 and 6 are good. If they can hang like that on 2, it's pretty impressive. 10-4, keep working them.
Is that the polite equivalent of shut up and drive?
Yeah, pretty much. As they always told me, work your hands and not your mouth.
He worked his way right by Greg Biffle, one of those cars he was talking about there in the 16. There you see Tony Stewart in the 20 car. Started this race on the outside of the front row, sitting there hanging in 5th, trying to reel in Greg Biffle in the 16.
Stewart now 5th. He led a lot of laps early in the race, 52 of them. This facility includes a drag strip, a dirt track, and this, the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And there's a go-kart track and more, but that Bull Ring is where Kyle Busch cut his racing teeth before moving up to Busch Series, Nextel Cup, and here, the big track.
Kyle Busch. I'm Kyle Busch from Las Vegas, Nevada, driver of the number 5 Kellogg Chevrolet. I knew I wanted to become a race car driver early in my life, so I just wanted to graduate high school as quickly as possible. I was able to do that a full year early, got here to the Nextel Cup, and here we are today. Last year, I was Rookie of the Year. This year's goal, we better make the chase. I'm a fun guy. I enjoy to mess around, especially with my guys. We joke around a little bit on the radio, but we prank a lot too. Being as much of a kid as I am, I still love to play with RC cars. Being able to work at Hobbytown as a young kid, still messing around with them today, they're always fun, man. Enjoy the speed. One of the best things about having Kellogg's as a sponsor, all the cereal you can eat. My favorite Kellogg's cereal has always got to be Frosted Flakes. Bring it on. They're great. They're great. They're great. They're great.
Well, he's moving toward the front at more than glacier-like speed. With an Ice Age 2 car. He's in 3rd place, 3.3 seconds off the lead.
And you know, Mike, we had his brother Kurt Busch on our trackside show the other night, and Daryl, Jeff, Steve, myself, we asked Kurt, you know, where is a big brother? Now remember, Kyle Busch is only 20 years old, but where is a big brother? Do you maybe wrap your arm around him and say, you know what? Find a little better balance. You had the situation in the Busch race at Mexico. You know what Kurt said, ironically? I did this week. I did it earlier in the week to my brother, and Kyle looked at me and went, you know what? You're right. I do need to find my balance.
Now, last week in Mexico City, you saw on Fox as Kyle, with more than 25 laps to go, knocked the leader, Michel Jourdain, into the fence and out of the race while battling for the lead.
NASCAR and XL Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Singular, raising the bar.
Matt Keneth leading Mark Martin by 2 seconds. Let's ride along there with Jeff Burton for our next Singular Virtual Crew Chief question. Would more banking in the corners improve the racing, the quality of the racing at Las Vegas? Text crew to 191 on your Singular wireless phone or log on to foxsports.com/singular. Here's what's going to happen here at Las Vegas after this race is over. The bulldozers will come in and they will take the 12-degree banking in the corner, tear up the pavement, widen the apron, and end up with a surface that is banked 20 degrees. And it will be somewhat of a progressive banking to that 20-degree mark. Now that is a repaving system that had great success at Homestead Miami Speedway. Will it work here? You vote.
Tony Stewart in that 20 car, he's starting to make his mark here again. He drove by Greg Biffle in the 16 car a few laps ago. Now he's pulled up close to the 5 car of Kyle Busch, trying to battle him for third.
Tars. One guy's got some good tars and the other one's getting worse.
And speaking of that, we're probably within about a 15-lap window of when these guys will be hitting pit road for green flag stop. Remember, when we got within about 8 to 10 laps of 2 green flag stops earlier, we had right front tire problems. One with Reed Sorensen in the 41, the other with Ryan Newman in the 12.
Matt Keneth 2.3 seconds up on Mark Martin. Then Kyle Busch is 3 seconds back. Tony Stewart 3.5 back. There's still 29 cars on the lead lap in Las Vegas with 119 to go.
You know, a car that was within about 60 seconds of not making this show, Scott Riggs in the 10 car, they had throttle cable problems as he headed out to qualify. They actually did not fix the problem for him to qualify. He qualified this car working the on-off switch. But remember, this is a car that had to qualify on time. He qualified 22nd, and Matt Yoakum, they rolled the dice, changed 2 tires, and he's sitting up there in the 9th position.
Larry Mack really making his way up there. Now, earlier in the race, they made a huge track bar adjustment because the car was just so tight. Severe push. They went up 3 rounds in the track bar. Now, as you mentioned in the last stop, the Stanley Tool team made a 2-tire change, got in the track position, but his setup is so close to Casey Kane in the 9. Very similar. They're expecting good days ahead, but they're trying to dig themselves out of that hole for missing Daytona.
So, Darrell, the throttle's stuck open, and you're going to qualify around here, run 180 miles an hour into the corner, and all you've got to break that full throttle is a kill switch?
Well, wow. a lot of these young drivers drive that way, on and off. So,
like.
I must have fit his style.
Riding with Jeff Burton, that is Jeff Gordon. They're racing for 10th place. They're about 11 seconds off the lead.
At Gordon's car, the 24, he was really good in the beginning of the race. Then he kind of got back in the pack a little bit. And here late in this run, he's working his way back in the top 10 as he takes the 10th position away from Burton in the 31. But Darrell, I think the Las Vegas race has always had this look about it. About the middle portion of the race, everyone kind of settles down. You know you've still got, you know, a couple of 100 miles to go. You've got a couple of pit stops, and you know you're going to get those long green runs.
Yeah, and of course, this is when you want to be prepared for that long green run. That's why I was a little concerned about the 2-tire change. In Jeremy Mayfield's case, no tires. You know you're going to make a long run here. I don't know if that was the best strategy or not.
Yeah, Mayfield has paid the price because he went from running 10th to just getting lapped in that 19 car. But you've got to believe this deep in a run, Mark Martin the 6, Greg Biffle in the 16, Scott Riggs in the 10, their 2 tires has worked out okay for them.
Now, tires have been an issue today. 2 drivers, Reed Sorensen and Ryan Newman, have crashed out of this race due to cut tires and slammed into the wall. For Newman, it's his first DNF since last August at Bristol. Jeff Hammond's at our Ford Fusion cutaway car with more on the tire story.
Mike, what everybody was thinking were cut tires. We checked on pit road, and our sources have told us it wasn't a cut tire. Believe it or not, it was actually a bead failure. This is the bead of the tire that actually fits on the wheel. See the air are inflated. And what has gone on, Darrell Waltrip and a couple of the drivers were talking about early on, they're using a lot more brake around this racetrack than ever before, and they don't have enough adequate cooling. So what's going on, if you look right inside here, you can see inside the wheel in this area, this is the wheel, here is the brake rotor. You see the distance there, not a lot of distance. And when they heat these rotors up to over 1,000 degrees, all of a sudden, all that heat transfers into the rim. Around this bead area, all of a sudden, the bead itself melted. Tire failure, my friend, and that's what happened to not only the 12, but also the 41.
Now, Reed Sorensen, thanks, Jeff. Reed has made repairs. He has returned to the race with the Target Dodge. Let's show you what happened to Sorensen and Newman. This is turn 2. Reed Sorensen cuts the right front and into the wall. And later at lap 90, Ryan Newman, same song, next verse.
It's a helpless feeling, man, when you go down in the corner, got that thing cranked to the left.
And caution has come out here at Las Vegas for debris in turn 2, just about 8 laps shy of pit stops.
The good thing, it's not for a right front tire.
Yes. So Matt Kenseth leads them to the caution. Kenseth has now led 38 laps of this race. Mark Martin has led 57, Tony Stewart 52. 29 cars on the lead lap, and the free pass beneficiary will be Jeremy Mayfield, who started this race in a backup car after he crashed in fluid dropped by Kenny Wallace's blown engine in the last minutes of practice yesterday.
Tell you what, that caution was good news for Sterling Marlin, Bobby Labonte, Elliott Sadler, Kyle Petty, Brian Vickers, and Kurt Busch. They were just about to go a lap down to Matt Kenseth.
Jeremy Mayfield as well. On note, without the tire change, he gets the lucky dog.
And Dale Jarrett, who restarted 10th. Saw Dale there. He dropped to 21st, again with just 2 tires. Made a big move up in track position and hangs on to the lead lap.
Probably a lot of chatter right there about now, isn't there, Larry? Don't do that to me no more.
We've learned our lesson.
At the head end of pit road, Jeannie.
A whole lot of chatter on the radio. The 17 of Matt Kenseth. A half a pound of air out of the right rear, a half a turn into the right rear. Suggested driver changes. Matt saying, look, if we're no better, we can put it back. We got a few more stops. He needs front end to turn without taking too much out of the rear end, and really just worried about getting tight if we stay on that long green run. Dick?
Jimmie Johnson's lap times have not been as good as the leader. He has struggled with a car that has been pushing all day long. They're going to make 2 chassis adjustments in the car at the same time today to try to loosen it up. Matty.
Now Greg Biffle, the 16, 2 tires on the previous stop, air pressure adjustment on this stop to try to free up the race car. Small air pressure changes on the 20 of Stewart as he's away to Steve.
Matt Kyle Busch says he needs more rear grip off the corners, so they're going to raise that track bar again 1 more round and give him 4 tires.
A tense moment for Greg Biffle coming down pit road. He was trying to move out to that outside lane and merge in. There was a car trying to enter his pit. Biffle had to swerve and came pretty close to some of the crewmen who were servicing cars in the pit boxes.
And you see right there, his crew had a good stop. They gained 3 positions, but I'm going to tell you who really gained the positions with that 9 car that gained 2. As well, you see Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, their teams gained 3 positions on pit road as well. Here's the race, and buddy, this was a race.
Kenseth well out front, Stewart, and then 3 wide, give it to Kyle Busch. Now watch the 16 of Biffle trying to exit his pit box. Someone, I believe, was it not Casey Kane,
Sterling Marlin.
Yeah, Sterling Marlin. Trying to get in his box, and Biffle has to make a big swerve.
And then the 5, he keeps coming out down here at the very end too. So
metal debris out in turn number 2 put us under this 4th caution of the day.
Water bottle.
Oh, looked like metal.
Yeah, you can't tell.
Elliott Sadler assumes the lead.
But Darrell, you talked about it, that 5 car, as we got a penalty on the 99 car, he had a tire roll out of his pit box, so that'll be the tail end of the longest line. But Kyle Busch talked about Matt Kenseth's pit selection. The 5 cars in that very end pit, that really pays off under caution. He just has to lunge forward, and he wins the battle off pit road.
And there you see his pit box. It's the very end pit. That pit can maybe not be optimum under green, but under caution, she's the daddy rabbit.
Ready for the restart as the Dodge Charger pace car hits pit road. Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, and Casey Kane will lead them down to the green flag. The first of 30 cars still running on the lead lap.
Pretty much everyone on that stop right there. There were no 2 tire changes there. Everyone changing 4 tires. This puts everyone where they could make this race on one more stop. We talked about Scott Riggs a while ago on the 10 car. Right now, this is a battle for the 12th position. Tell you what, that 7 car, guys, he has had a good day. Robbie Gordon doing everything he should do, knocking on the door of the top 15.
Yep, the Harris Chevy underneath Brent Sherman. Dale Jr. going outside, 3 wide. Sherman, the meat in the sandwich. And Jeff Green prevails there in the Best Buy 66. Matt.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the outside of the 8. Now, he says the car is a tick tight, 2 out of about 10, so that's pretty good, which he says it has made it hard to pass. Now, Tony Eury Jr. made an air pressure adjustment. This team is really excited, Mike. Junior's won at 8 of the next 9 racetracks, and they really feel like this is going to be the part of the year where they can really see where they stand with their program and what areas they need to work on.
Right, Matt, a top 20 here would be a big turnaround for Junior. His last 2 trips here did not result in a top 30 finish.
I tell you what, you can tell they've got fresh tires. Look at the RPM right there, up over 9,500 RPM on this restart.
Inside. Boy, here's a little gaggle, a little wad right here, a little mini wad. Doesn't take long to sort itself out, though. You just can't.
Oh! Casey Mears into Kenny Schrader.
No, I think Schrader's got a tire rub, Mike.
No, he caught him in the front, Darrell. His right rear into Schrader's left front. Just a little bit. But I agree, the right rear of Schrader's car looks like it's got a rub.
That 42 is just a little bit hoppy.
Yeah.
She gets down in there beside somebody and wants to jump.
Second place, the Home Depot Chevy of Tony Stewart. Moves back up into second. Oh, here comes Kyle Busch yet again and dives it in deep in turn 1.
We're riding with Casey Kane right here in the 9 car, watching Tony Stewart trying to go to the low side, but Kyle Busch will definitely take the position away.
Let's go back and show you what happened between 42 Mears and on the left, 21 Kenny Schrader.
42 forces itself down into between the 8 and the 21. Well, it kind of doesn't. It's actually the 1.
Oh, they didn't touch. Okay.
No,
it was close.
Smoke boiling out of the right side of Kenny's car from somewhere.
Next week, similar shaped track, only faster. We're in Atlanta.
It's the fastest on the circuit. Tell you what, they have definitely made improvements though on that Budweiser car, that 8 car. Getting into the race, he was about to go a lap down. Now he's working his way toward the top 15.
I think they really got a little wind in their sails with that 11th place finish at Fontana. After having a little bit of a rough day, come back and get an 11th place finish, that had to make them feel pretty darn good.
Looking back from Terry Labonte in the DLP Chevy. 1 lap down. And here the 2 Roush teammates go at it for 5th. Mark Martin, Greg Biffle in the 16.
You know, one of the things we've been talking about is brakes. And one of the indications, Larry knows this, Jeff knows this, when a car makes a pit stop, how much brake dust is on the front wheel. That'll tell you how much brake the driver's using. I noticed on the 19 car, and I think Dick Berggren has got the wheel the right front wheel was black, and I think it was from brake dust. How about it, Dick?
Yeah, it's brake dust all right, Darrell. Look at that. It's just absolutely caked on. And come on over the top of it. Here's the left front, Darrell, and it's got every bit as much as brake dust. And the thing that amazes me is not just that we've got all this amount of brake being used, brake dust reflective of that, but that you saw that all the way from the booth, which has to be 3/8 of a mile away. I think you got to be one of the most observant people in this sport, and I think that contributed to all those wins and championships, Mr. Waldrop.
And they don't call him old Eagle Eye for nothing.
No, but I also got to tell you that I've had some good crew chiefs working for me that reminded me, get your foot off the brake. You're about to blind the right front tire changer.
98 laps to go in the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400 at Las Vegas. Point leader Jimmy Johnson closing right up on Greg Biffle. This would be for 6th place. They're about 4 seconds behind Matt Keneth, the race leader, who enjoys a 1.5 second margin over Kyle Busch. Matt Kenseth, winner here in 2003 and 2004. He's out in front.
NASCAR Next Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By Dodge, you can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Best Buy, thousands of possibilities. Get yours. And by State Farm, great service, great rates. You can get it all from State Farm.
Matt Kenseth hoping to celebrate his birthday in Victory Lane. He turned 34 on Friday. We've had 4 cautions thus far, 2 of them for some pretty heavy right front and right side impacts into the safer barrier. Jeff Hammond has more in today's State Farm Safety Update.
Folks, as you can see, this right here is the roll cage of a stock car. You can see all the 1 3/4 tubing, the bracing, the X-bracing, the special frame rails, square frame rails. All this designed so if you do have a problem with the right front tire or just lose control of your car, get in that outside wall. This is what helps protect you as well as the race car. And in 2007, NASCAR is going to take this one step further at selective races. They're going to move all this stuff further to the right, also putting in special, so that in the event that they have a problem on the racetrack, they'll be able to better protect their drivers and their stars of this sport.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's kind of evolved, you know, the car has. Back several years ago, we had wide frame rails. They were 64 inches wide. Guys found out through aerodynamics that the narrower the car was, the faster it would go. Bill Elliott in 1985 figured it out before any of us did. That's why he was so dominant that year. So they kept shrinking the cars down, shrinking them down. Makes them lighter, too. Less material. Now they're going to go back to the future.
Tell you what, we're about to have a battle for this lead right here with about 88 laps to go. You see right there, Kyle Busch went from a second behind just about 5 laps to go, just within a few car lengths of our leader, Matt Kenseth, in that 17 car. This 5 car showing some strength on this long green run.
Well, he was really good here last year, and looks like they've come back with the same package. Coming on strong.
Finished second here a year ago.
Steve?
And Mike, if you remember the last 3 pit stops, Kyle Busch has been asking for more rear grip. So they've made track bar adjustments. They've gone up 1 round on each successive pit stop, and it has just made that car better. In fact, Alan Gustafson just said, "You're the best thing out there. Go get him."
And you know, these guys could only have one more opportunity to possibly adjust on these race cars if we stay in this long green run. I'm going to tell you someone else that we need to mention. Had a decent qualifying run back on Friday. He started in the top 20. And the reason I want to mention him is for the last couple of years, we, the fans, they beat up Richard Childress Racing. Richard Childress continues to move things around, and now I think he's about to get that program turned around. You've got Clint Boyer up here in the 07 car. He's making only his 4th Nextel Cup start, and he's sitting here knocking on the door of another top 10 finish, and we can't forget, He's sitting 8th in the Nextel Cup points right now, so a pretty good start to his season.
And plus, you got Burton in the 31 car, 9th, Larry, and you got Harvick up there in 8th, so you're exactly right. Hard work is starting to really pay off for that crowd.
There you see the teammates right there, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton. And I think what happened, it wasn't one big thing. I think they've worked on engines, they've worked on aero, they've worked on chassis. And when you look at how close the competition is, just a little something in 3 categories can be the difference between winning and running 30th.
And give Boyer credit as a rookie. He's had an impressive early season, as has Denny Hamlin, who's the leading rookie in this race in 11th. Now a little more smoke from Kenny Schrader's Motorcraft Ford.
And that's coming from over on the right side, and it's almost like it's down in the corner, DW. Maybe when you're off the throttle, could be possibly a little something going on with the engine in that car.
Right, you got the pipes running out the right side. When you get the back pressure in the engine, it sucks oil up in the cylinders, and that's what that looks like when you go back off of the throttle. Get all that pressure in the engine, it'll blow it out the up inside the pistons, up inside the cylinder walls, and burn some of it.
Michael Waltrip there having a tough day, 3 laps down in 36th. Now Casey Mears, Elliott Sadler, they're fighting for 24th. And the other Bill Davis car, besides Michael Waltrip, is Dave Blaney in the Caterpillar 22, and he is 1 lap off the pace in 32nd.
Bill Davis' car is having a rough day here. It just appears that the only Dodges that really have their act together here is the Ray Evernham Dodges. We have 2 of them in the top 10, Casey Kane and Scott Riggs, and the next one is Kurt Busch all the way back in 18th position.
You know, we're starting to see going down into turn 1 some shadows that are coming across the racetrack. They're not really anything that's going to be a big distraction to you, but it will change the temperature in that turn a little bit, and it could cool the turn off a tad and get a little more grip down there possibly. This
caution has come on the speedway for debris at turn number 3, lap 186. About halfway into this run of green flag racing before a green flag stop would be needed. And the caution is welcome news for Terry Labonte, who was the first car 1 lap down. Now he'll come back up on the lead route.
Now there is a spring rubber, Larry. Half of one anyway.
Something someone maybe either put in a rear spring and it came out, or like you mentioned earlier, sometimes they have them tie wrapped to the spring where they can pop them up in there or pop them out, and maybe it broke loose.
Yeah, they tie that thing to the spring, and then if they wanted to put it in position, they just flip it in back inside the coil spring. If they want it out, they just flip it out. Somebody flipped that one out a little bit too far.
So Matt Kenseth's lead disappears as he will lead the field onto pit road. A lot of birthdays this weekend. We mentioned Casey Mears is 28. Matt Kenseth, 34 on Friday. John Andretti, racing this year in the Busch Series, is 43 this weekend. And NASCAR's first champion of what's now the Nextel Cup Series, the late Red Byron, was born 1915 on March 12th. Tonight on Fox, all new episodes of your favorite shows, beginning with The Simpsons, War at Home, Family Guy, and Free Ride.
Now, we've been talking about pit stops under caution. All of our stops has predominantly been under caution, and the 2 best cars on pit road under caution has been Matt Kenseth in the 17, his crew, and Kyle Busch in the 5. And they're at total extreme ends of pit road. Matt Kenseth is in the first pit box coming in. He's been prevailing, and Kyle Busch is in the very end. And speaking of that first pit box, let's go to Jeannie.
It's about to be occupied. Conversation as to what to do. Stay with the changes they made. Live with what they've got. Car not exactly what Matt Kenseth says he wants, but the balance is good. So leave it alone. Just give it 4 tires, fuel, and please leave the grill alone as well. He's somewhat happy, I would say. Dick?
Jimmie Johnson started this race in 3rd. He has run in the top 5 all day long, but he has not been fast enough to run up at the very front of the pack. The problem has been that the car has been too tight, so they have tried to adjust it on every pit stop, including this one. Matty.
Tony Stewart stopped short in the box. the car air pressure adjustment to try to help him out at the beginning of the run, and he is away.
On the other end of pit road, Kyle Busch, and he said he is tight in the center and free off. He does not beat the 17 off of pit road. They made a track bar adjustment one more time.
It was close, Steve, but you're right. Matt Kenseth and that group, they win the battle off pit road. You see right there, though, that 29 crew, Todd Berrier's group with Kevin Harvick, they keep prevailing on pit road as well.
But what happened to Mark Martin, who dropped 6 spots on pit road?
And Greg Biffle that lost 3, but you see right there, Kevin Harvick in the 29 plus 3 spots, but definitely the real loser was Mark Martin in the 6.
Here's the thing, it's adjustments, you know. You either put it, like we were saying, a chassis adjustment of some kind. It just kills a pit stop.
A little bit's a lot.
So we'll find out what happened to Mark Martin when we return to Las Vegas.
The gas pedal's on the right.
State Farm is proud to insure Jeff Burton's car. His personal car! Call an agent today.
Like a good neighbor.
State Farm is there.
My obsession with winning almost ruined my life. No, it's my turn.
Daddy, you're cheating.
Then my doctor told me I have OAD.
If your life is always in drive, you may have OAD.
Overactive adrenaline disorder.
Driving a Ford Fusion helped our race drivers. It can help you, too. Side effects may include extreme exhilaration and feelings of wellness.
Yes!
Thank you, Ford Fusion.
How fast is Dale going right now?
About 193.
How much does that truck weigh?
About 4 tons.
Try bigger brakes? Yeah, let's go with bigger brakes.
Some things you just can't copy, like Wendy's original spicy chicken sandwich. A big, juicy, whole breast filet, covered with our own fiery blend of peppers and spices. For more meat and more heat. Don't clown around with copies. Do what tastes right.
6 cars have a chance to win it. Jeff Gordon's going to lead him into turn 4. 3 wide, they're bouncing off each other.
You are the man, and it's time.
Sir, you're right, it is time.
We got him! Daytona 500!
Listen to every defining moment of your favorite driver live with Race Day Scanner. Get it and other exclusive content online through AOL.com/sports and NASCAR.com.
You guys are awesome!
You see a lot of folks wearing headsets at Las Vegas, some like this youngster for hearing protection, but others to keep a little better track of what's going on at the racetrack. Nextel decided to get involved with their new fan view. You can rent this at the tracks. You can watch video from your favorite car. If that car has an onboard camera, you can listen to driver-crew communication. You can replay parts of the race and be a better informed fan. I got to play with one of these at Daytona, and our truck announcer Rick Allen has one today that he's experimenting with.
I think I'd put me one in my race car.
Yeah, you can do that too. For more information, log on to foxsports.com, keyword fan view.
That would be a little bit of information you would get on it right there. The points gained or lost as the race stands right now.
Matt Kenseth trying for the twofer. He won it there at California, and it's his birthday. Here's the view from our DLP cable cam. Pretty slick, especially if you have a high definition DLP TV.
Oh yeah,
this looks good. We're back under green with 77 laps to go, and Matt Kenseth in command. In fact, the first 3 came out just the way they were running at the time of the caution for debris. Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and Tony Stewart.
Jeff Burton at 31. He's not going to waste any time. He splits Casey Kane in the 9, Britt Sherman in the 49.
Clear. Attaway.
Yeah, pack her on down in there. She'll stick.
That's a battle for 6th right now.
Boy, you get those Mr. Feelgoods on there and you're a hero, aren't you, Larry?
But you see that green and white car there to the inside. Jeff Gordon in the 24. He's going to go by Casey Kane in the 9 now. Michael Waltrip in the 55, 3 laps down.
Yeah, Kane had nowhere to go. Couldn't move inside the 11 either of Denny Hamlin. Now, during that caution flag, Kenny Schrader on pit road with the hood up looked like he could have been overheating in his Ford. And we mentioned Mark Martin, who came into the pits in 4th, but Martin is now back in 11th after a very long pit stop. Trouble on the left front on his stop put him back 7 positions.
Trying to just get back to the top 10 in that 6 car right now, back in the 11th spot.
Man, you saw the 26 there, McMurray, do the big wiggle, Darrell, as he got stuck in the middle.
Oh yeah, boy! I tell you, you get pushed around from both sides, pushing on one side and pulling on the other, and that will make you wiggle all over.
Riding with Michael Waltrip, his Napa Dodge, trying to rebound. He's 4 laps back in 35th position. Jeff Gordon now with Greg Biffle. Jumps inside of Scott Wimmer in the 4. Casey Kane on the high side. And Kane in that number 9 worked the high side to great advantage yesterday in the Samstown 300 all the way to victory lane.
Darrell, that 24 car right now, Jeff Gordon, we're looking at him right there in the green and white car. He looks really good through the middle of the corner. The car's turning. He's able to pick the throttle up and stay in it off the corner.
Looks like he's got it tuned up a little better than he had it earlier.
Matt?
And Mike, to answer DW's question, one reason why they have it tuned up even more, there was a hole in the nose earlier. And I remember back midway through the race when he was fighting such a bad, tight condition. Well, they found the hole, put a piece of tape over, it covered it up, and now the car is back to where it feels like it should be. It's a little bit loose on entry and tight in the middle, but not bad at all. Meanwhile, the 31 of Burton trying to chase down his teammate Kevin Harvick. He has the opposite problem of both Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart. The 31's issue is the car is too good at the beginning of the run, and that means it goes tight with too much time left in the run. They're working on adjusting that. They have made some big headway.
And we talked about that earlier, DW. There's no free lunch. You almost, I think, to be good, 20, 30, 40 laps in the run. Not loose, but a little free the first 10 or 12 laps.
And what happens to you, Larry, is that what you saw with Joe Nemechek, for instance. You're tight, so you take wedge out, or you keep trying to free the car up. It still won't turn, and now it's loose too. So you got to kind of be careful or you'll jump the fence.
Matt Kenseth just ran his fastest lap of this race on this run. Lap 193 was his fastest lap of the day. We're completing 198 right now.
In other words, business picking up here.
Casey Kane on the high side. Yes, sir. Just like yesterday, and Kane is motoring forward. He just moved into 8th in that Dodge Dealers UAW number 9.
Well, you know, when Matt won this race in 04, Larry, he dominated this bad boy. He led 123 laps in that race.
You know, we were just talking about Jeff Gordon in the 24, how good he's been in the middle of the corner. Right there, just back in turn 1 and 2.
Oh, man, they're rubbing on each other. I'd say something is a myth.
Did Biffle just slide up?
I think it may have started back here when we wonder what happened to Jeff Gordon.
Back in 1 and 2.
Let's see if we can back this baby up and get another view. Now they're kind of taking shots at each other here. You hit me once, I'll hit you twice.
No, Biffle did not appear to slide up.
Did you see the wheel mark right there off of Greg Biffle on the left side of the 24 car? It rubbed a hole in the side of the door, looks like.
Pretty heavy contact. It's hard to see that on TV, but when they bounce off each other like that, that's pretty heavy contact.
Mark Martin works underneath the 22 of Dave Blaney. Now he's got Scott Riggs in tow. Riggs, we told you about his problems in qualifying, but he's had a strong day and runs in the 12th position. But can he overtake Mark Martin? Jeannie?
We'll take a little stroll down memory lane during the very first pit stop of this race. Pat Tryson, the crew chief, and Mark Martin said, look, great car. Let's not beat ourselves, especially in the pits. And that is what we just saw during that last stop. Just a slow pit stop. Crew chief coming back on saying, hey, sorry, bud. Hopefully that half round will get you freed up and you can go back out there and get them.
Well,
Let's see, Martin right now, 8.8 seconds off the lead, and his lap times are about 4/10 slower than race leader Matt Kenseth.
You know, Scott and those guys in the 10, they've got to dig themselves out of that hole from Daytona. Good runs like today. You can't get it all back at once. Got to kind of nibble away at it, but a good run like they're having today is certainly a good start.
Speaking of good runs and nibbling away, Robbie Gordon in that Harris number 7 Chevrolet. We talked about him a while ago. Car looks really good right now. He has worked his way up into the 13th position, and I tell you, this is just another good solid run for this group. And remember what the hole they were in a year ago after missing the Daytona 500. What a difference a year has made. I think the big difference is the race team he's put together and DEI engines under the hood.
It just takes, Larry, you can't start one of these teams from scratch and expect to be right up there at the front in the first year. You got to get bullets. You got to build cars. You got to get engine programs put together. You got to get people. Hammond, you know what I'm talking about. We've done it.
I sure do, UW. And again, talking to Greg Irwin, that's exactly what he's been talking about. They are assembling this team one at a time. As we watch right now, Tony Stewart right now putting some pressure on Kyle Busch in the 5 car. But for Robbie Gordon, that race team, they really needed to just kind of get solid runs in. And Greg told me this morning, he said, we've got good race cars. And he said, Jeff, he said, Robbie is on his game right now. I've never seen him this focused in all the time I've known him. They really feel like they've got race cars, and all they're trying to do is put together solid top 15 runs. And again, today, that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, you know what I see too, guys? I see a guy that's not frustrated. I looked at him on our show the other night. He's confident. He feels comfortable. They got it going, and that really has made a difference in the way he's driving and the way he's running.
In Robbie Gordon's pit, he's got an ace in the hole.
Yeah, he's got the bad boy of poker right there, old Phil Hellmuth Jr., and I think he's been up there helping Greg Irwin as crew chief, hadn't he, Steve?
Oh, yeah, Larry Mack, and he's a 9-time World Series of Poker Tournament champion. He's the honorary pit crew with Greg Irwin, and as he said the other night on our trackside show, he's going to tell him when to hold him and when to fold him.
Well, they'll have probably at least one more pit stop to figure out when to hold him and when to fold him.
One thing, I don't know if I'd want to play cards with him or not.
Our singular virtual crew chief question about the banking at Las Vegas. 88% of you want to come here next year when this track is banked 20 degrees. And so do we. Matt Kenseth, 15th at Daytona, winner at California. He is out front here by 1.1 seconds.
NASCAR Next Cup Racing on Fox, sponsored by Visa. Go on, live life, and remember that no matter what it takes, life takes Visa.
56 laps to go. Matt Kenseth out front by 1.7 seconds over Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, and Jimmy Johnson. Chris Myers has dropped a valve. He's running on 7 cylinders. A little bit under the weather. Get your voice back. Jeff Hammond and I will take you through this Visa race break and a look at some of the early action today. Let's start at lap 41, or lap 40. Car 41, the target Dodge of Reed Sorensen. Cuts down a right front tire in turn 2. Hits up and into the wall. He has since returned to the race 65 laps down. That was the first caution of the day, Mark Martins. AAA crew got him back on the road in a hurry as he beat everybody off pit road. Lap number 90, Ryan Newman. Right front problems, Jeff, and he's hard in the wall.
Hard in the wall for sure right there. Ended his day right there with that right front tire problem. But I tell you right now, the guys you've been watching, they're coming on pit road. Tony Stewart racing with Mark Martin down on pit road. He gets in the commitment cone, but NASCAR made the decision. He did not break the penalty, and on the next restart, he actually takes the lead away from Mark Martin.
Stewart has led 53 laps, while Jeff, the Roush cars today seem to mostly have been battling each other.
They have been racing hard all day long. You see Greg Biffle on the outside of the veteran Mark Martin taking the lead from him. But then later on, here comes Matt Kenseth in the 17 around Biffle to take the lead away from him. It's been basically a dogfight between these guys all day long. And you watch Jimmy Johnson racing Tony Stewart right there. A lot of passing high and low all day long. Both crews are working extremely well today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
This has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa.
Hey, Larry. Looks like that 48 car might be coming on here pretty strong at the end of the day.
I believe he has come to life here with just about 50 laps to go. Up there battling now, just took third position away from Tony Stewart in that 20 car and drove away.
Yeah, Tony was battling really hard with Kyle Busch, and all of a sudden Kyle got away from Tony. I don't know if he slowed down or what happened. Then the 48 goes by Tony Stewart and the 20, and he set sail now.
And just to set the stage, we've got 52 laps to go. If we stay green, we would have green flag stops, which you've not quite got to just yet. We've come close 2 or 3 times. In about 30 to 35 laps, it will happen with about 15 or 20 laps to go.
Watch this old 11 car right here. I think the tires are starting to fade a little bit on some of these cars, Larry. She comes out here on him.
Is that you or the car? It's pretty close.
Denny Hamlin, he is still running in the top 10 up there in the 9th position. Again, we should have had stops in about 30 laps.
Right here is, I think, when he
used up a lot of racetrack
Man,
here.
he is, and before that, he used up more than that. Unexplored territory, a time or two.
And now he's got Biffle and Scott Riggs on his tail. They're all fighting for 9th place.
You know, looking at Scott Riggs, we've already talked about his problems he had in qualifying. I talked to his owner, Ray Evernham, as he just drives by Greg Biffle, and he said, if we'll give Scott all the ingredients, this indeed could be my best race team right here. Give them some time together, no mistakes like the mistake at Daytona qualifying, a mistake with the throttle cable, and this team can be a contender.
And you said cable, Larry. Most of these teams run a throttle linkage, but they elected to run a cable between the accelerator pedal and the carburetor.
And it just about bit him. It was binding up. But I'm going to tell you, Mark Martin, Jeff Hammond, Mike, you were talking about him, how strong he was. He had that problem on that last pit stop, and he just seemed like he can't recover. He's back in 12th position, 11.5 seconds behind our leader, his teammate, Matt Kenseth. Mark Martin's going to have a caution to recover from this one.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've seen over and over again is when you get up in the front, get out front, and get clean air, that it really makes a difference in the performance of the car. Mark got caught back in traffic, much like what happened to Jeff Gordon, and it doesn't seem like the cars will run quite as good. And that's just a product of the aero package.
Not long ago, this man, Tony Stewart, the defending Nextel Cup champion, was just 1.5 seconds back and looked like he was going to close on the leader. But you see that car is not handling all that well, Matt. What's up?
Chopping wood.
DW has exactly right. Stewart came on the radio about 7 laps ago, D, and said this car is just so aero dependent, fighting a bad aero tight condition.
Now ahead of Stewart, Jimmy Johnson is 3 seconds off the lead. It's Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and then Jimmy Johnson. Dick Berggren is in Johnson's pit.
And Darian Grubb is his acting crew chief. Darian, you guys have adjusted the car all day. Is it now adjusted well enough to win this race?
I think so. I mean, the Lowe's Monte Carlo has been awesome all day. Jimmy's really worked with it. He's got good feedback. We've tried a whole lot of stuff today. The 17 is really strong, and so is their teammate in the 5 car. We know what the 5 car is doing. We know what we're doing. We're going to try to get up front.
All right, good luck to you. Thank you.
Crew Chief Chad Knaus in the midst of a 4-race suspension. He'll be back at Bristol. Darian Grubb up on the pit box. He has guided Johnson to victory at Daytona and the point lead.
Second place at Fontana 2 weeks ago, working on another top 5.
Very confident young man. I like the way he looks at everything.
And not that many years ago, he was a mechanic at a Volvo truck dealership. Sent his resume in, and Petty Enterprises picked up on it, hired him. 3 years ago, he went to work at Hendrick Motorsports.
We're going to have at least one more pit stop if this race stays green. More if we have cautions. There's your leader, Matt Kenseth, still lapping this track at 34:20, Jeff. His fastest lap, 31:90. So the longer we run, the times start to fall off. What about this final pit stop?
Well, Mike, what I've been thinking about is we watched the 2 Hendrick teammates race each other, Jimmy Johnson as well as Kyle Busch right there battling for second position. But what I'm looking at, and Larry, you know, when you look, you run the race backwards. When we went back to green at the final caution a second ago, we had about 80 laps to go. So what I'm wondering is, if I'm a crew chief, do I run 40 laps, dive on pit road, take a little gamble, and try to make up a lot of track position and get out in front of some of these guys out there riding around on old tires? Right now, Jimmy Johnson's making a pretty good charge off of turn 4 on Kyle Busch on the outside. So really, who might take a gamble here to try to win this thing? Because it doesn't look like you're going to catch Matt Kenseth unless you change your game plan a little bit.
Well, Jeff, just remember, in our FedEx racetracks, one of our keys was roll the dice. That would be a great plan, but what would bite you, and we've seen it almost happen 3 or 4 times, that would get to that green flag pit stop, the caution would come out. It happened to Kyle Busch last night in the Busch race. He pitted early, 5 laps later the caution comes out, then you're pretty much dead meat.
But it's Las Vegas, guys. You got to roll them every now and then.
I'd roll them, and I'd be rolling that we're going to get a caution. That's what I'd be rolling.
Somebody rolled a water bottle for the last one.
I'll be looking for no gloves.
42 laps to go in the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400. Let's have a look at today's Allstate Good Hands driver. Good hands for Greg Biffle. Comes out of his pits, comes up to speed, trying to blend into traffic. And there's a driver slowing down for his pit. A quick left, a quick right. And out of harm's way. Allstate, official insurance partner of NASCAR. Matt Kenseth now 3 seconds up on Jimmy Johnson. Tony Stewart has recovered. He is 3rd. Moving back up, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton, the 2 Richard Childress Chevys, have climbed to 4th and 5th. Casey Kane's Dodge is 6th. And what has happened to Kyle Busch? He is backslid all the way to 7th.
I think he's definitely ready for this pit stop to come up with some major adjustments, which could be their final time to adjust on that race car.
I think what happened to Tony Stewart, or to Kyle Busch, was he and Tony Stewart had a heated battle there for a little while, and I think it really took both of them out of their rhythm for a while. Tony got it back, but I don't think Kyle ever did.
And now Busch getting passed by his teammate Jeff Gordon in the DuPont Nicorette Chevy. Let's show you that little dust up.
Oh, yeah.
And as caution comes on the speedway, you'll see Tony out the driver's window.
He had to get back hold of the steering wheel for a second. Then when he got on the straightaway, he was able to finish it off.
Not happy with Kyle Busch. First of all, though, the caution is out. And again, it is for debris at lap 234. This will be the 6th caution flag of the day. Steve.
Well, Mike, earlier in this race, Larry Mack talked about the big brother chat that Kurt Busch had with younger brother Kyle, and maybe it's working because he's talking about his race car. He said, I'm still tight in the center and loose off, but I will tell you that Tony Stewart pressuring me was making me overdrive the race car.
Got a piece of debris in turn 2, Steve, that has put us under this caution. The 6th time, it's the 3rd one for debris.
Well, we're not going to have that green flag stop. We've got 34 laps to go, and this pit stop coming up, this could be the difference between winning and losing this race. We saw Mark Martin's group have the problem last time with the left front. This could be the most important stop of the day. They're all hitting pit road, 4 tires, fuel, and adjustments. It's going to be a critical stop.
Jeannie? Get back there in a moment as Matt Kenseth's car completes the right side and goes around to the left. These fellas have been pretty flawless all day.
And where he's pitting, Darrell, he's almost finished with his stop before most cars get to their pit box.
Dick? Jimmy Johnson has slid into his pits box. He has done a beautiful job of parking this car. The crew hasn't had to chase it at all. Another nice pit stop. Matty.
Ira Joe Hussey just hit the lugs and he's away.
Steve?
Al Busch on pit road, Mike. He said we need to go back the other way, so they're going to drop the track bar a little bit to help get his race car back in contention.
I'm going to tell you what, boys, we've been talking about them all day. Certainly Matt Kenseth, Robbie Reiser, that group gets the job done, but I'm going to tell you, it looks like the real winner was basically that 5 car. Remember, he fell back to 8th. He's up to 4th. You see Kurt Busch, the 2, big gains, but look at there, the 5 car, 4 positions, but the 29 car, I know it's only 2 positions, but he's up in the top 5 now, Kevin Harvick.
NASCAR has observers stationed all the way around the racetrack, and either from what they see or sometimes what drivers will call in, they will then have a look and see what might be on the racetrack. The report was metal debris in turn number 2.
But I think what really gained the positions with Kyle Busch in the 5, we talked about it earlier, he only has to move about 15 feet to win that battle right there.
Kurt Busch, too fast exiting pit road. That will be a penalty.
Busted.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Team Chevy and the 303 horsepower Monte Carlo SS. Chevy, an American revolution.
Coming to the green, 30 laps to go. Last race winner, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, and here comes Kyle Busch on the outside of Kevin Harvick for third.
He timed it just right.
He did. That's not going to sit good with Harvick, I bet you.
And Stewart right with him, 3 wide.
I mean, these guys know that if you don't get it early, they're going to get out there. Kenseth will get away from you, and you're not going to get back to him.
Well, the battle continues here with the 5 and the 20, and they're not real happy with each other.
And right behind them, the 2 Childress Chevys, Harvick and Burton looking in.
And right now they're in a box behind Dave Blaney in the 22. Scott
Whoa, whoa, he got him. He got him. Got him up out of the ground.
And Harvick's right there to take advantage if he can in the 29.
3 wide down the back straightaway.
Tony's in no man's land now, right in the middle.
Got to back off.
Here, clear. That's my man right there.
Boy, a lot of patience on everybody's part right there.
Little give and take here with 29 to go.
On top of those.
They're still at each other.
Be cool.
Be cool.
Gotta finish it here. 2 wide. There you go. 2 wide with the 20. Pulling them and clear.
Kyle Busch got a good run off turn 2.
Had to.
Can you please get on NASCAR for me? The son of a trying to kill me.
Settle in. Let's settle in here.
And that's the best advice they can give Kyle Busch right now. Put it behind you, settle down. You got a good race car.
Now what's happened to Harvick? He was right there battling with these 2, and now he's dropped back behind Casey Kane, Jeff Gordon, and the 31 of Burton.
He's getting away from those guys.
He'd seen enough.
Matt.
Mike, remember a couple of weeks ago, Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch sat down and had a long conversation, and Kyle Busch felt like he really learned a lot from a veteran. When all this incident started taking place on the track, Stewart said, well, I guess you forgot a lot about our conversation, a lot of it which was don't overdrive your race car. He felt like, he said, the shrub was holding it up and making me mad. And when Greg Zipadelli's crew chief said, don't let it bother, he goes, no, that's an advantage for me sometimes.
Let's show you the restart. There had been a bit of bump and tussle between these 2 previous. Good jump by Busch.
Got a good start there. Jumped out to the outside, which is easy to do on a track like this, big wide front straightaway.
Here comes Stewart to the outside. There, this is in the back straightaway. And we apologize for a bit of lockup in our replay machine there.
Kyle Busch in the 5, he finally clears the lap car of Dave Blaney in the 22 car. And I think if he can get out in clean air, he's got a pretty good race car right now.
Yeah, I think he does too, Larry. He's a little quicker than Tony is.
What we were going to show you was the bump in the back straightaway. And it freezes there. But Darrell, that's just a driver just expressing a little displeasure right there. Just, hello, I'm here.
It's all right to give a little tap on the straightaway. As long as you only do it once. Wouldn't want to continue to do that.
I'll tell you what, while all this has been going on right now, as we've got 23 laps to go, Matt Kenseth in the 17's pulled out to almost a second half lead over Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
Yeah, Kenseth is loving all these guys back in there banging around on each other. He's just on cruise.
Jeff Burton, don't forget, has 2 wins here. They came while he was driving the 99 for Jack Roush. as he battles the Jeff Gordon car. 5 seconds off the lead.
Still there.
Fighting for 6th.
They're exactly about 5 1/4 seconds behind our leader, Matt Kenseth.
Still there, right on your quarter. Still there.
The old DuPont Chevrolet is keeping him pinned down to the inside, not giving him any momentum up off the corner.
You can have your picture taken with Jeff Gordon at Madame Tussauds Interactive Wax Museum here in Vegas. He's the 2nd racer to be so honored. Now Kevin Harvick continues to lose positions, Dick.
Yeah, he does, Mike. He's just lost another spot, this time to Mark Martin. Harvick now in 10th position. And the problem, he just came on the radio and said plowing, plowing, plowing. That means the car is pushing, and it's going to be tough for him to do much today with that.
Same thing happened to him last night. He was sitting up there leading the race, had a caution late in the race. All of a sudden, that's what he was hollering in. Can't turn, car won't turn.
He started 29th today. Harvick hasn't had a top 5 since Richmond last May.
But I think one reason, just look right here, just a little over 100 laps ago, the track temperature was 81 degrees. It has dropped almost 20 degrees, and Jimmy turn 1 and 2 in the front stretch is completely in shade, which means these cars are probably going to lose front grip.
Yes, I think that's why when I was hanging out in the 17 pit, just enjoying the race, a couple of crew members came over and tried to convince me to shift my location and lean on the stack of tires that was waiting to be put on the 17 car. Just kind of warm them up a little bit. That has been the topic of conversation, how the temperature on the track just keeps changing. The 9 car of Casey Kane saying we need the sun to come out again because this big cloud moves over. It is just killing us.
We talked about it at the top of the show. Ever-changing track conditions, keeping up with it, especially on this final stop.
Matt Kenseth trying to go 2 for 2 and get his 3rd win here in Las Vegas and celebrate his birthday weekend. And downtown, stacks of wax. There's Jeff Gordon. Pretty good likeness.
NASCAR Next Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Aaron's. Nobody beats Aaron's. Nobody. By Wendy's Original Spicy Chicken Sandwich. Do what tastes right. And by Sprint, proud partner of the NASCAR Next Cup Series.
Matt Kenseth leading by 1.3 seconds on Jimmy Johnson here in Las Vegas. It's become a beautiful weekend as we take a Visa race break to tell you about tonight's Fox primetime lineup. All new episodes of The Simpsons, followed by The War at Home, Family Guy, and Free Ride. All new episodes tonight beginning at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Moments ago, Tony Stewart got way up and almost found himself leaving Las Vegas.
He was starting to really catch the 5 car of Kyle Busch, but a close call there.
I think that's just one of those deals where, again, Zippy needs to tell Tony to chill out.
The view from Casey Kane of Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch continuing to go at it. This has been a Visa race break. No matter what it takes, life takes Visa.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard hit on the right rear of that car, Larry. The tires, the Goodyear's rubbed all the way off the tires, so they took a pretty hard shot.
I'm going to tell you, watching this scoring monitor, there's Greg Zippadelli, a crew chief for Tony Stewart, 2-time championship crew chief. But right now, the fastest car on the racetrack, it's not Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Budweiser car, but right now, he's 13th in this 8 car. But I've been watching Casey Kane in the 9. He just drove by Tony Stewart up there in the 4th position. Now we're riding with him as he's looking out towards Kyle Busch in that 5 car.
Any way you cut it, Larry, this is a good weekend for that crowd. Winning that race last night, and now here he is up here running a top 4 today. Pretty good weekend for that young man and for that race team.
And there he is, exactly where he was last night in that Busch race, up to the high side. And he's running this 5 car down about 0.2 of a second a lap as we got 11 laps to go.
You know, you got to give Ray a lot of credit. I mean, with all the controversy over the Intrepid versus the Charger, he sticks with what he knows.
Here's one of the Chargers, Casey Mears, trying for his 3rd straight top 10. He has to get past Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin to do it. Mears 2nd in the points for Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates. Here he is side by side with the Goodwrench Chevy of Harvick, and he moves into 11th.
You know, Jeff Gordon, he might want to run that green car more often, especially on these mile-and-a-halfs. Now, this is one of his better mile-and-a-halfs, but there he goes by Tony Stewart right there to move into the top 5.
Definitely think Tony Stewart and the 20 car is paying the price for that brush with that wall off turn 2 a while ago.
Jeff Burton is looming here, lurking right along behind him. Got him pretty well set up as well, I believe.
9 laps to go. Sterling Marlin, past winner here. Slow in the back straightaway, the Nellis straightaway, honoring the Air Force
What do you
base.
got? No oil pressure, no motor. I got them coasted now.
Pretty much.
Make sure you coast all of them.
Says his day is done as far as the engine. Sterling was still on the lead lap. We still have 30 cars on the lead lap, and you see Jeff Burton in the 31 going by Tony Stewart in the 20. That's a battle for 6. The biggest thing Tony Stewart's looking for right now is that checkered flag to end this thing.
Yeah, with his DNF last week and 2 weeks ago in Fontana and then falling back today, he's not doing himself any favors in the points. Got Mark Martin coming up on him now. And we may have a race for the lead here before long.
Nobody has ever led as many laps at Las Vegas as Matt Kenseth has today. He led 123 when he won here 2 years ago. He's already led 137. But the point leader, Jimmy Johnson, closing fast.
He is a coming, guys. He just come up off of turn 2 and made a big gain on the Kenseth.
And it looks like Matt Kenseth in the 17, he will catch one more lap car before this thing's over. 6 laps to go this time.
Jimmy's car is so good center off. He's really, looks like the 17's tightened up a little bit and the 48 is just right.
Matt Kenseth, a big leader. Can he seal the deal to win his 2nd race in a row? Jimmy Johnson in the last 15 laps has cut the difference in half, down to about 3/4 of a second. Mark Martin moves up. Tony Stewart falls to 8th.
And now Matt Kenseth has cleared that lap car, so he has pretty clean racetrack in front of him. But that 48, like you said, he's getting off the corner so good right now. 5 to go.
But what a difference a year makes for Matt Kenseth. Last year, his first 3 races were finishes of 42nd at Daytona, 26th at California, and he got his first top 10 here, finishing 8th. This year, 15th at the beach, a win in California, and he's out front now with 5 to go.
Yeah, and it's about a 10th a lap right now.
Don't look back. I mean, I think that it's going to be a real drag race to the finish line here on the last lap. It's shaping up as one of those kind of Atlanta finishes where you got this big wide front straightaway. Which way do you go?
Kenseth started 9th today. No Las Vegas winner has ever come from the first 3 rows of the starting grid.
Wonder how many winners have come out here with a substitute crew chief and walked off with the victory.
Tony Stewart may be wrestling a flat tire, and caution, he is out. Look at the debris coming off right there, Kenny Wallace's car. Wallace had a problem. Denny Hamlin couldn't avoid him.
Yeah, it looked like Wallace really slowed down right in front of Denny, and Denny got into him, and Tony is on the apron, guys.
Now, we almost have a mirror of a situation that we had last night in the Busch Series race. We've got 3 laps to go. This thing will go into overtime. We can pretty much guarantee that. These cars have about 30 laps on their tires. And there you can see Tony Stewart right there getting into Scott Wimmer in the 4 car.
Is there a problem on our race leader, Jeannie?
Oh, yeah, this caution could not have come at a worse time. Matt Kenseth in the 17, very upset for what he calls a ridiculous caution. You can understand why. He's having problems with the motor, guys. He's been trying to switch back and forth or decide whether that's what they need to do. He said that's where he's going to have to go. He's going to have to flip back to the reserve motor. It's not looking good. He said, quote, "We're done."
Well, remember, Kenny Schrader, he runs a Roush Racing engine. He had problems earlier in the race. Greg Biffle in the 16 had the engine problems at Fontana.
It sounds like what Genie's talking about is maybe an ignition problem,
right.
Switching back and forth there in the ignition boxes.
There will be no free pass, but like yesterday, we have to wonder, of the 30 cars on the lead lap, who will come for 4 fresh tires when you're only going to have 2 laps to race?
Well, it started about the 12th place car, Scott Riggs. He brings a whole line of cars. I felt like the first car that peeled off, he would bring everyone behind him with him. So about the top 13 or 14 cars stayed out. Scott Riggs, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Robbie Gordon, J.J. Yaley, Brian Vickers, Elliott Sadler, Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr., about a dozen or so cars that had nothing to lose here. Get those fresh tires because you've got 30 laps on your tires.
I believe the way the 48 was closing over there.
4 tires.
And now that deficit that he was behind has been made up, and they're going to start here with 2 to go. Green-white-checkered.
How about Jimmy Johnson's chances, Dick?
Well, they sure got a whole lot better, didn't they, Mike? The crew has told Johnson about Keneth's engine problems. All of these crews have people who just stand in the pits and they monitor other people's radios. So they knew right away when Keneth had a problem. Johnson knew right away, too. Nevertheless, this crew got up on the wall, faked that they were going to come in and make a tire change. Of course, they didn't do that. They just stayed right out, and they're pretty fired up. They think they got a real good shot to win this race.
But just look at Darian Grubb. He is basically the substitute crew chief. He's cool, calm, and collective.
And that's the most nervous I've seen him. He's actually petting his foot.
Yeah, he's got a win and a second in 2 races atop the pit box for Rick Hendrick. And by the way, congratulations to Rick Hendrick and all the members of the Hall of Fame committee in the city of Charlotte. NASCAR announced this week that Charlotte would be the site of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And that committee formed a couple of years ago to try and keep NASCAR's all-star race in Charlotte. They put together a great economic development package and recognized the sense of the sport's history in Charlotte, where the first race of what's now the Nextel Cup Series was held in 1949. And beginning in perhaps the spring of 2010, the NASCAR Hall of Fame will be open in downtown Charlotte.
Now, we talked about 30 cars on the lead lap. We talked about cars getting those fresh tires. 2 are going to pay a huge price. Scott Riggs in the 10 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8, 2 fast entering, tail in the longest line. They'll start back there about 29th or 30th on this restart.
Matt Kenseth. Last time he won consecutive races was 2004. He won Rockingham, the season's 2nd race, and he won here in Vegas. Can he repeat?
Stick around to see who captures the checkered flag.
Tonight on Fox in Primetime, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central. The Simpsons, all new episode. Then The War at Home, Family Guy, and the new comedy Free Ride.
That War at Home.
I was thinking the same thing.
Stevie and I, we're remodeling the house. We're having a war at home, too.
Don't go there.
No, not she and I.
No. Matt Kenseth trying to win his 2nd race in a row. Jimmy Johnson trying to win his 2nd Las Vegas race in a row. And Kyle Busch trying to win in front of his hometown friends and fans. And Casey Kane's brought his Dodge right up into the fray. We're going to try once to get a green, then white, then checkered flag finish.
Yeah, Kenseth's got to watch the outside because it's so wide down this front straightaway here. If he gives up much room to the outside, look out.
That's where Kyle Busch in the 5 has been so strong on the outside of the restart.
And I imagine he's sitting there thinking that same thing. If I could do this again. Kenseth kind of jumped out there, got a big jump on everybody.
Told his crew during the caution that his engine is flat. Doesn't feel like it has a lot of power. We'll see right here.
Here comes Johnson. Looks like he's been so good off of the corner. That's where he's been closing.
Contact turn 2. A car up toward the wall. Misses it.
Whoa. Here comes Jimmy. I think he'll follow Matt in here, but he's been so strong coming off the corner.
Matt Kenseth, he's not going to give the bottom up, though. Jimmy Johnson in the 48, he turns it to the bottom, coming to the white flag this time.
Clear low, white
flag. If you don't give up the bottom, you'll be okay, I think.
But Darrell's been turned 2. That's where the strength has been with this 48 car.
Kyle Busch poised to take advantage. It's a 3-car race with a mile to go.
He's looking outside. You better block him if you want to hold him off. Got a good run.
Kenseth pulls the block, going off into turn 3. Johnson goes to the high side. He's going to try to get that momentum.
Jimmy
Johnson
drag race. Won last year like this. Kenseth with the edge. Here comes Johnson.
Jimmy's
momentum outside.
He's got it.
Johnson
48
wins the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400 He led 1 lap.
He got that run on the high side through 3 and 4.
I like it. I mean, it's an exciting finish. You gotta like that.
Just the way Carl Edwards beat him at Atlanta last year, and just the way he came back later in the season and beat Carl Edwards on the outside on one of these 1.5-mile tracks. Momentum.
I bet Matt would tell you right now, should have slid up in front of him and broke his momentum.
And there's the winning crew chief right there, Darian Grubb.
I like his record, Larry.
3 races, 2 wins, and a second place finish. Hendrick cars 1st, 3rd, and 5th. Jeff Gordon in 24 finishes 5th.
Jimmy Johnson is the first driver to win here from the first 3 rows of the grid. He started 3rd today. 2nd straight Vegas victory. 3rd Chevy win here, all for Rick Hendrick.
Mike, you said he led 1 lap. He led about 25 yards.
Jimmy Johnson drops the net. He wants the flag.
Oh, that's the way to do it. That's old school. Give me the flag. Let me ride around here. Take all those burnouts. I don't care, but I like this.
Jimmy Johnson burns down the house, scores his 20th Nextel Cup win and his 150th start. Welcome to our sprint post-race show on NASCAR on Fox, where Jimmy Johnson has scored an incredible don't leave your seat till the checkered flag waves victory in Las Vegas. Chevy congratulates Jimmy Johnson and the number 48 Monte Carlo SS on a great Team Chevy victory. 25 of the last 34 NASCAR Manufacturers Championships and counting. Chevy, an American revolution.
Johnson, you are the man.
Johnson victorious, and Keneth apologetic to his crew.
Sorry, you guys deserve better than me. Sorry, you guys won a race. I lost it. Couldn't do no more. I don't know.
I disagree. Matt Keneth drove one heck of a race.
I'm not sure what else he could have done. Nope. I mean, Jimmy Johnson got to the high side. He was protecting the bottom, which is what he had to do, and Johnson gets to run off turn 4.
Thought all he could have done is wreck both of them, and that opened the door for the 5 car. At least it would have broke his momentum, and the 5 would have driven by, so he did the right thing.
For the second race in a row, Jimmy Johnson turns the tables in Las Vegas, and he gets another big belt. Steve.
How about that? Jimmy Johnson puts on the belt. Now, Jimmy, you've had 3 of these battles that I recall. At Atlanta last year with Carl Edwards, he beat you to the outside. Then at Lowe's Motor Speedway with Bobby Labonte, you got him on the outside. Tell us about the thought process, the battle with Matt Keneth.
Man, that is great racing. I had so much fun, and I've had a lot of fun racing with Matt over the years. But I knew if I could get to his outside coming to the start-finish line, I lost one that way, and I knew that I could win. I won one that way, and I knew that I could do it again. So I'm out of breath. I was screaming for a lap, going backwards, hooting and hollering inside the race car. But I am so happy, so proud of this race team, so thankful for Lowe's and their support. Chevrolet Monte Carlo, we're really learning it, having a good time in the process.
Jimmy, you told us yesterday in Happy Hour that you were excited about your race car, but when the race started, it probably wasn't handling the way you wanted it to. How did you guys get it going?
Well, I knew the car was going to drive good. It drove good at the beginning of the race. It just didn't want to push the issue. We had a little bit of a tire wear at the front because the car was a little too tight. So I just took my time. Last 2 pit stops, it was time to go. And then when they had that green-white-checkered at the end, I knew those Monte Carlo was going to be in good shape. And it was a little too loose to catch Matt, but for 2 laps, I knew I could hang on, and we got it done.
Okay, congratulations. That was exciting. Let's go to Jeannie Zelasco.
Extremely exciting. A second place finish. Should be congratulations, but your face is a little bit long. We've all been watching the tape. What else could you have done? Why are you beating yourself up? What are we missing here?
Well,
nobody likes to run second. You know, we led all day, and you know, thought we had the best car. But at the end of that run, we just started slowing up, and Jimmy started catching me. Just felt like it was laying down a little bit on me for some reason. I don't know what. And then you know, the green-white-checkers are tough. I did everything I could. You know, if I tried any harder, I was going to wreck and probably wreck him. So I did everything I could. I just got beat. You know, I feel bad. Because I feel like I let the guys down because they got, you know, pit stops second to none like always and got me in a position to win, and I couldn't win it for them. But it's still a big confidence builder. The Duvall team has ran great all 3 weeks. The 17's running good, and they got a great attitude, and we're having a lot of fun so far this year.
Thank you so much. For the record, nothing wrong with the motor guys, and for the record, Mark Martin, one of the first guys over here to tell him, you're the man, don't worry about it. Matt?
A fierce battle on the racetrack with Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch. What went on? Because it didn't look like we saw any contact.
No, there wasn't any contact made. It was just some good hard racing, you know, and it was a great effort by the Kellogg's Ice Age Chevrolet team today in order to give me a great race car to run up front like that all day. And you know, I guess we have to have one of our little chit-chats again, but I had a blast out there, man. It was a lot of fun being able to race up front as we did, and you know, to be able to race Tony the way that we did. It was clean, but you know, I guess maybe I aggravated him in some sort of way, but I'll have to go figure out what I did.
Well, he'll go find out why the bumper tags took place, and let's go to Dick Berggren.
With Casey Kane, who has had a great weekend. He won the Busch race here last night and fourth this afternoon. Hey, they're going to tear this racetrack up. You're going to call Bruton Smith that owns it and say, don't mess with my Speedway?
I don't know. It's a pretty nice track how it is, but you know they'll do a better job or everything they can to try to do a better job here. It's always fun to race here. We had a great weekend, and you know, it would have been nice to win the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400, but looked like Jimmy Johnson was more excited winning this race than the Daytona 500, so that's pretty good for them. But I'm just real happy with Kenny Francis and everybody on this team. They built some great cars at Evernham Motorsports. The engines are running great, and we're excited to go to Atlanta.
And you're driving great. Congratulations on a terrific weekend. Mike?
Thanks, Dick. I guess if we're going to go to any track in all the Nextel Cup Series where one driver just says, bet it all, push it all out there in the middle of the table, bet it all for one lap, this should be the place.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's Las Vegas, man. But you know what I'm excited about? As good as it was today, you wait till next year. They bank this joint up. They'll pack this place. There'll be 250,000 people here next year, particularly with a finish like we had today. Right, Larry?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
Top 10 finishes for Casey Mears every race this season, as well as Jimmy Johnson.
And that was a nice rebound by Casey Mears. They struggled all day long with that Dodge. They rolled the dice there at the end. They kind of stayed out there on that last stop, paid off with a good finish. And you know what? Denny Hamlin, he gets another top 10 finish. So a lot of these young guys starting to build momentum here early in the season.
We'll see some changes in the Nextel Cup standings. Matt Kenseth moves to second, Casey Kane third, and Casey Mears fourth. And Jeff Hammond, a lot of teams took on 4 tires for the 2-lap shootout, and there were big knots of cars racing there at the end as those cars tried to work their way through the field.
You know, guys, everybody's always said, what kind of racing is there at Las Vegas? Well, right now today, we saw some of the best racing ever. Side by side, both crews came in, and in the end, that outside move that Jimmy Johnson was able to put on Matt Kenseth was pretty impressive, and I think that's really what kind of put an exclamation point on a pretty exciting weekend.
So next weekend, NASCAR on Fox moves to Atlanta. Our coverage begins on Friday. Craftsman Truck Series and Nextel Cup Series qualifying on Speed, followed by the Craftsman Truck Series race at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday, you'll see Busch Series qualifying on Speed, Nextel Cup practice, and the Busch Series race. The Nicorette 300 on FX. Next Sunday, NASCAR Race Day on Speed, leading to the Golden Corral 500, presented by DLP HD-TV, right here on Fox, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then NASCAR Victory Lane on Speed. Coming up next, prime time on Fox, The Simpsons, The War at Home, Family Guy, and Free Ride, all new episodes. They'll be exciting, but it's going to be hard to top what Jimmy Johnson just did.
You want to see what this joint looks like next year? Watch Atlanta next week. Very similar layout when they get done with this place.
Just a lot faster.
Much faster. Over 2010 maybe.
Promotional consideration paid for by Couple quick cautions early. Cars hitting the wall. Little bit of debris. Roush cars dominated. Tony Stewart led a lot. Matt Kenseth looked like a sure winner. But don't put all your chips on one number. When it comes down to a 2-lap shootout, anything can happen. And on the last turn of the last lap, Jimmie Johnson wins the UAW DaimlerChrysler 400.